All right, here we go. DJ Akademiks, welcome back.
Come on, man. I feel like I'm at the NFL Combine, man. I had to come put in some more work. I'm trying to get that lifetime max Boosie deal, man. I'm here.
It's our second interview.
I know. That's what I'm trying to say, man. I'm trying to put some work in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. You know, and you're actually one of our, I think you were the first interview that we had done in the new studio.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, that was dope. You know, I'm glad that, number one, this is our second interview, but I remember it was so long that we were talking that we had to lock in on one.
Yeah.
And I remember I just kept saying, yo, Vlad, I'm going to do it. But then I did say we got to be in the same room. You've honored my request. You've done my podcast.
Twice.
Twice. And of course, I'm just always somebody who repays a favor. You know what I mean? I'm just not, I don't like one-sided relationships or friendships. That's never cool.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of that, I just want to thank you personally because you're the reason why me and NLE Choppa actually ended our beef. And you got us on the phone together.
I'm super proud of that. I'm proud of you guys as men, but also, you know, I'm just proud that the fact that I was a part of, not saying it would ever escalate, but trying to, you know, squash something that was petty. Like most of these issues that people have are petty. And I've just seen in hip hop where someone who knows both parties could make a call. They don't do it. People just sit back and watch a train wreck happen. Be like, yo, when they run into each other, you know, he said this. Sometimes they'll fan the flames. You see people who are mutual parties, they'll just kind of spice it up. And then when something regrettable happens, you know, at that point, they're like, oh, man. So when it came to that situation, I was like, man, I'm cool with NLE Choppa. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yo, Vlad's my guy. Like, you know, one of the things, anytime your name is mentioned, I'm like, I could only tell you my experiences with Vlad. I know what you guys have seen or thought, but I'm also never the person who's not gonna, you know, like they'll say whatever about you. I'm never the person to be like, all right, let me not speak up on his behalf. I've seen nothing but good about you. So, you know, I called Choppa and I said, Choppa, is it really anything like that? And he was just like, man, I don't kind of rock with it, dude. Well, I said, listen, I reached out to Vlad. Vlad is open to talk. And I was proud of you about that too, Vlad, because I think a lot of times you're in a position now, man, you don't really need some of these relationships with either rappers or some of these people. You know what I mean? Like you've done a great job of maneuvering around the industry where you don't really need them. However, I do think that as men, we should be able to put problems behind us. So, you know, you were open to it. He was like, yo, all right, man, put us on the phone. And then pretty much you guys handle the rest from there, which I was very proud about.
Yeah, no, we got on the phone and I'm like, look, before we start, this is a private conversation. I'm not taping. I would appreciate you not taping. And before we get into anything else, I'm proud of what you've done. Like you've accomplished a lot at like 19 years old. You know, you're touring overseas. You got hundreds of millions of views, probably billions of views combined. You know, I just have an issue with certain claims you've made and so forth, but that don't mean that we can't get on, you know, agree to disagree. And then we had this long conversation on the phone while he was like in Turkey or something. And we're like, yo, you know, when are you going to be in LA? Let's do the interview. He's like, yo, I'm going to be in LA in like a week. A week later, I called. He was like, bet. He showed up. Just him and like his bodyguard. You know, I had like two, just in case.
Because he was in case shit goes.
Yeah, no, I had two armed guards in the room just in case. Because he was like, you know, what he said was what I felt was a borderline threat. He's like, oh, I can't wait to see you. Big hugs. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Yo, rappers are always doing that.
Yeah,
like,
and I'm like, cool. No, you don't have to wait to see me. You can come see me in person.
Now, I'm going to keep it real with you, Vlad. You've been watching the Wendy's Twitter account, man, because like you, in reality, you were kind of roasting him. I'm going to be honest with you. I've never seen you that clever in comebacks. That's the first time, because I posted the back and forth. And by the way, you know, this is all water under the bridge, but I'm like, Vlad is kind of witty with it. You know what I mean? And usually, as I said, we've had these conversations multiple times. I said, Vlad, why do you let everybody say things about you that are usually not founded in truth? And what happens is that's going to become the narrative. Also, you're going to get people that just pile on. Because I watched the interview also with Choppa, you know, and you brought up something that he tweeted like years ago. Yeah. And he basically was just like, man, like he didn't have any reason.
Yeah, he called me the police out of the blue. And I'm like, all right, I'm not going to say nothing. Polo G co-signed. And I ran into Polo G at the bank in Calabasas. And I'm like, hey, let's talk.
Yeah.
And he explained.
Yo, Vlad is part of the pull-up gang, man. Well, Vlad, one thing people got to also realize, because I think people are so, and this is why rappers also put out that energy like, yo, I can't wait to see you. Because we think of rappers as so violent, but we don't realize that at the end of the day, everybody's millionaires and everybody's men.
Right. He had like his little man with him. I think it was like his little brother or
Yeah.
something. It wasn't like, you know, me and him are roughly the same size. I'm not
Yeah.
coming at him. I'm like, because I mean, he was like, it was funny because Polo G was standing in line at the Bank of America. And I'm like, is that Polo G? And I'm looking at him. And he turns around. He looks at me. He's like, what up, Vlad? And I'm like, what up, man? I'm like, can we talk
pass me the
outside?
withdrawal slip, man. Come on.
I'm like, can we talk outside after you're done? He's like, all right. We went outside and we talked. And, it's
really
not like,
respectful too, right? Like, you see, that's what I'm saying about that. Once it's on social media, it's like, yo, he called you pussy. Like, you almost, fans or like people will make you like, you can't even have a discourse about it. But in reality, if you saw each other, like, more than likely it would be a very, cordial conversation.
Right. Right. And that's ultimately what happened. And when Choppa came in, it was like, dude was just very polite.
He's very polite.
Everything got addressed in a respectful manner. And I even brought like a video of an actual medical doctor to address some of his claims respectfully. Yeah. Dr. Khan basically talked about, and he actually said, I believe in some of the herbal stuff that Choppa actually, like in mugwort and some other herbs. I actually tell some of my patients to do that. But when cancer, this is what cancer actually is. And unfortunately, there is no, solution that you could drink that'll cure cancer.
What about the BBL pill, though? I just got to know about that.
I left that one alone. I left that one alone. I was just
the
like,
BBL pill?
I left that one alone because I didn't want to get too deep into the, the sort of like the medical misinformation type conversation because that potentially gets problematic on social media. So it was a cool conversation and the interview was at like 3 million views or something. Like, and so many people in the comments were like, yo, like I really like this dude, like NLE Choppa. Like I wasn't listening to his music, but now I'm going to. Like this guy's so mature for a young age and so forth. Everyone turned around, like after all this was done, everyone came out looking good. Me, him, you, everybody.
One of the things also why I was like, I think if they talked, it would be a different story than social media back and forth. Mm-hmm. Because me and Choppa's gotten to it a bunch of times. Like, Choppa's been upset at me for whatever the case is. I know his mom. Like, I did one of his first, kind of bigger platform, content things early on when I had a show called On the Sticks. Met his mom, met his like stepfather, and like I literally seen somebody who is able to have a disagreement but still talk it out. And that's why I did more interviews with him. That's why whether we have a back and forth, we'll hop on the phone or we'll text each other. So I said, if he could do that with me, why would he be able to do it with you?
There you go, man. Once again, thank you. It was a dope interview, and now me and him have a relationship, and hopefully he'll come back.
Yeah, no, of course.
Well, Angela Yee recently went on Twitter and said, the Breakfast Club, as you know it, is over.
Yeah.
And it was announced the next day that she's actually leaving the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
And I saw, I think it was on Twitch. You basically talked about that whole situation.
Uh-huh.
You said radio, as we know it, is finished.
Yeah, radio is finished. Like, first of all, I think the announcement was kind of weird. I listened to their explanation. They said it was to, figure out who was against them, but like it didn't feel like everybody was on the same page because it felt like one person leaving the band, but kind of not wanting the band to continue. You know what I mean? It's like, imagine if Offset left the Migos and said the Migos are done. You know what I mean? Like, no, right. But no, Quavo's still rocking with the other guy. What you mean? You're just leaving. Like, you know what I mean? Now, granted, that's a whole different story where the Migos is just kind of seen as them. Same with the Breakfast Club, but I just think that radio is different now, man. I think radio and radio personalities has almost gotten killed. Like, I grew up watching and looking up to these dudes who are called either super jocks, whether it's Howard Stern, Star and Buckwild, of course, Charlemagne the God. Like, these are people who you saw them as super personalities. Dudes who, I'm not saying just doing shock jock stuff, but they had strong opinions and strong takes. And sometimes they were out there. You know what I mean? It wasn't so, quote unquote PC. I think we're just not in that era no more. I think radio is just all about selling ads, which pretty much most businesses are, but they're in such a safe space where it's like, it's not in their benefit to really empower. What we saw early Breakfast Club with Charlemagne being so, edgy, that's done. Like, who would put their brand behind something like that, like a big company at this point? So, like, we've seen even Charlemagne toned it down a little bit because a lot of people came for him, and also he's trying to grow as well. But, like, when you think about what radio now is, that whole announcement to me, I was like, I'm happy for her. But in reality, like, I know edgy Angela Yee. I know Angela Yee kind of brought in sex talk on Sirius.
Yeah, lip service. I used to be on her show on Sirius before she joined the Breakfast Club. Me and her go that far back.
Yeah.
And Charlemagne as well. Like, he was on VladTV before the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
We go that far back. When he was still in Philly, he was doing interviews with.
Yeah.
So me and Envy, we know each other, but we don't really have the same relationship. But it's interesting because what you're saying is very true. You can't do lip service on Power 105.
Can't do that.
Can't talk about, who's your, what type of oral sex do you like the best and so forth. You can't do that.
If you listen to by the way, all of them have podcasts outside of the radio.
Does Envy have a podcast?
Yes, he has a podcast
Him
with
and his wife? Okay.
If you listen to them on their podcast, it's completely raw, completely unfiltered, funnier, more engaging, it's just a different conversation.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, I'm very happy for her with the move she's making, because I think they've developed so much company equity. Yeah, you're not supposed to work 10 years, break your back to build a station that's made billions off of you and then just get kicked out the door. Yeah, go get another syndicated show. Now, the impact, I just don't think the impact's on radio no more.
Yeah, you said that you don't think that Angela Yee will make waves in radio on her own show the way that maybe people are expecting her to.
No, there's nobody in radio making waves.
Yeah, no, it's true because...
No, Vlad, let's really have a conversation.
No, you're right.
Think of any radio show at this point. You're like, oh, they're making waves. They're actually disrupting how people view content. It's not happening.
It used to happen. Wendy Williams was doing it.
Wendy's a goat.
Right.
And I don't know if
Howard Stern used to do it.
Of course, but I don't know if, think about both of them. I don't know if Howard, obviously there was a lot of money when it came to them, but like, I don't know if Howard's seen the writing on the wall. Howard dipped from, terrestrial radio, FM.
Time ago,
he went to Sirius, right? Obviously got a huge bag over there, but also when you look at Wendy Williams, when she was being edgy, she was getting a lot of pushback too. She got suspended a bunch of times for things
she got kicked off the radio, essentially.
Exactly.
When she brought up, and I interviewed Wendy on her show, and we talked about that, where when she made the gay accusations about Puffy, I don't know whether it's true or not for everyone who's going to be asking. I don't know. But when she put that out there, Puffy basically threatened to sue the radio station unless they kicked her off, and they kicked her off.
Exactly. So, and again, for the people who are listening to me, because I think a lot of people might be misconstruing being a shock jock with just being edgy. You get what I mean? Like a shock jock, like shit, even Charlamagne told me this. A shock jock is somebody who's just going to say anything shocking just for a reaction. While being edgy just might not be, you might have an opinion that just doesn't go with whatever, safe space Twitter wants you to say.
Like a Skip Bayless or a Stephen A. Smith.
Exactly.
And
I just don't think people really tune into those mediums, or if they do tune into those mediums, they're not receiving it through the radio. They're receiving it through YouTube. They're receiving it through podcasts. Every radio station now or every radio show is rebranded into a podcast. They get cut down. They have a whole team for that, right?
Yeah.
And also they're on YouTube.
Yeah, and I recently went on Twitter because I saw this Jay-Z interview that he did with Kevin Hart. And he said something really interesting. He said, things don't happen to you, they happen for you in terms of the universe. And I thought about that, and I could relate because ever since I became a DJ back in 2001, I always wanted to be on the radio. I spoke to every program director. I spoke to every morning show guy. I spoke to, heads of radio. It never happened. I spoke from Sirius to terrestrial radio. No matter how hot I was at the time, whether I was the hottest mixtape DJ or the hottest YouTube channel, it never went anywhere because they were like, we don't do long form stuff. We just want little snippets of interviews with people. And I'm like, well, I don't really do that. So it's not a good thing. And it never happened. But because it never happened, I focused all my energy on my own company. And I know for a fact that had I gotten a job at a radio station, Vlad TV would not be where it is today. It would not be. And you know, I'm not going to put out any names, but I talk to a lot of the radio guys now, and they all wish they could switch places with me.
Come on, man. Yo, let's be honest, man. I know the radio game. First of all, like, none of them ain't really getting paid like that. And when I say that, I'm speaking in comparison. You see everybody who's building their own companies now, who's invested in owning their content.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I remember I got into a little, you know, back and forth with Rosenberg, and I remember him and Ebro notoriously went on the radio and said, well, you don't own your own shit. You be on Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. They own those platforms. It's not really about owning the platforms. It's necessarily about owning the content.
Right.
If I use about 10 minutes of Hot 97's content, I get a strike from Emma's Communication. I don't get a strike from Rosenberg.
Right.
The person who I got to pay if I want to license stuff, right? Like, for example, WeTV just, you know, licensed some stuff from me. They got to get approval from DJ Akademiks. I own my shit.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? Also, I could repurpose at any time.
Yep.
It was like Twitch stream I was fucking drunk on. The point of what we do is, I think there's two things, and to go back to your point about if we were on the radio or hip hop radio isn't for long form conversation. When I got kicked off the radio in college, they used to say, you're supposed to talk for less than 3 minutes, then shut the fuck up and play the music. Mm. These days, nobody wants to hear a bunch of, you know, commercials, songs they hear 20 times on the hour. They just rather hear an hour of you just talking. And radio, like, there's no way to escape their business model of making money to get to that. So I'm wondering, how does it work with the current needs of the consumer? The current needs of the consumer is that they'll watch a 3-hour Drink Champs interview. They'll watch a Vlad TV interview. Shit, how many members you got? Because you might put something down and it's 2 hours. They want to watch the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Imagine if you were playing 15 whack-ass songs in between every 3 minutes. You get me? Then you got to throw to this. Then you're mentioning, hey, if anybody want to get some free tickets, call into the hotline.
Oh, yeah, man. It's so old school, because I remember I was taking an Uber over here, and, you know, the Uber driver had a radio on, and it was like, I think Hot 97. It's like, you know, songs coming up this hour, you know, Cardi B. And I'm like,
the Power 12 at 12. You're like, what the fuck is
You're
this?
telling people to stay on the radio to hear some song within the next 45 minutes when they could just pull the song up on their Spotify. Like, what the fuck? Like, what type of 1960s shit are y'all still pushing here?
Yo, radio is the last format that didn't adjust to the streaming era.
Yeah.
You know, if radio, and I don't know if technologically this is possible, if they were really smart, they would allow some type of interaction with the person who's listening to it. And obviously that's kind of not possible because, you know, they just play through the airwaves. But if you think about it, the only time I ever get caught listening to the radio is when my phone's dead.
Exactly.
Yo, I remember back in the day.
When I have a loaner car, that's when I listen to the radio.
I'm plugging, I'm like, yo, damn, this motherfucking iPhone won't turn on. I got to hear this shit for the next 20 minutes or 5 minutes usually. But I remember back in the day, and this just goes to how we consume content, right? I remember back in the day, Flex used to tease a song, and I'm listening for 5 hours to hear the fucking song. My nigga, I'll never do that again in life. You get what I mean? Be like, yo, we got the new song. Yo, I'm listening to...
Unless it's an exclusive. And these days, really, the radio guys don't get the exclusives like that.
And by the way, and that's not a knock at Flex. Flex is he's a one of one that could do that. The rest of y'all, we not listening to you. Be like, yo, if you want to hear Lil Durk, what happened to Virgil, it's coming up the top of the hour. You look at your clock, it's like 2:30. I'm like, what the fuck? I gotta wait 30 minutes of this shit?
Right.
So I'm telling you, like, yo, that it's a very antiquated industry. And anybody who works in that industry who will get mad at me, I'm not knocking y'all. If I worked in that industry, I'm never leaving. I would never leave him on Funk Flex, DJ Envy, Charlemagne. I'm getting the bags. However, I wouldn't think impact. Everything I've ever done, I knew when the impact stopped. To be like, yo, you're just doing this. But the impact stopped. And impact is very different than, you know, when you're doing some shit impactful, it's making waves, it's creating headlines, it's changing how the game is being moved. Like what you did on YouTube, cutting up clips, everybody do it. It's impactful. You're changing the game.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? These quick news stories I started doing just because I'm like, yo, man, I used to do the long form stuff. I'm like, yo, let me just try to get these things out quickly. A lot of people adopted it. Impactful. Radio is just not there right now. I salute everybody getting their bag, but I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Maybe, and you're older than me, but you don't listen to the radio.
No.
Like you don't listen to the radio.
Nope.
You get what I mean? And I also want to get into like really these radio ratings might be really just even fraud too. You know what I mean? Because if you really think about how dinosaur-like they detect ratings when it comes to radio. They use these PPM meters that kind of detect airwaves.
I heard someone stays on the side of the freeway and has like this little device that hears cars as they're
and they come up with monthly reports. Like,
and it's all estimates based on that. It's not like you know the actual number of cars listening. Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, bro, I go on YouTube, I could tell something got 3 million views. I could tell it's hot. It's trending.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you need to wait a month to get these reports. It's so old and antiquated. Salute to everybody getting their bag in it, but you know what I mean? I would love to see somebody prove me wrong in that format if they could get impacted. I think the Breakfast Club was a last of, an era when it comes to hip-hop shows.
Well, you mentioned Peter Rosenberg.
Yeah.
And I heard a tirade that you did about him where you
man.
just violated him to such an extent.
Did I go crazy?
It was like, you were talking about his ex-wife and like his current girl, and it was like, ooh.
Yeah, no, let me tell you this, Vlad. I'm not somebody who loves to go personal, but I will. I'm someone who, when the gloves is off, we could go there. And Peter Rosenberg is one of those people who have thrown cheap shots over the years. Also, when he feels that he needs to knock me or chime in, because you know what? One thing I hate about hip hop, I hate people who will only jump in when everybody attacking one person. Because in reality, you'll never we could go back and forth, but you won't kick that off. You'll wait until, they're saying something bad about him? Let me just add in the 2 cents. Yeah. I hate this motherfucker.
Yeah, I mean, he's done the same thing.
That's a bitch-made type of thing.
He's done the same thing to me. And it was like, over the years, I remember he talked a bunch of shit about me on Twitter, and then I ran into him. It was at like a wrestling event. He knows what I'm talking about when he hears this. So I'm like, yo, let's talk. And I sat down with him. I'm like, what's the purpose of this? He was like, I'm really sorry. That's just not like me. I don't beef with people. I apologize. I was just in my feelings, but no, I got no problems with you, blah. Only for like a couple of weeks later for him to do the same shit. And I was just like, yo, this dude is ridiculous. And
I remember, you know how it started with me and him?
How did it start?
Bro, I have no problems with him. Remember, these are guys, I'm the new guy on the block. I'm the new media guy in my complex, okay? Essentially, we're doing Everyday Struggle. They bring him in to do some other show called Open Late, right? Bro, I'm really not, Vlad, me and you talk. You can call my phone anytime. You're my friend. You get me? Now, these guys, I don't really know them, and I know, I've never really gotten help from anyone. I just kind of had to figure it out on my own. One of the reasons I'm glad that we have a close relationship, I always told you, before I was on, I watched you in interviews give blueprints to people like me. So I'm really appreciative. Somebody like Rosenberg, I'm never coming in hating, but we have nothing in common. Anyway, they start the show. His show is doing terrible. When I mean terrible, this is nobody listening to him on the radio. Nobody. I mean, you could probably see a tumbleweed fucking roll across the screen when they put up his episode on Complex. But even the Complex executives, they come to me yo, this shit flopping. Yo, act. Because at that time, I was getting a lot of views online. It's a digital show. They need to impress the advertiser. They say, yo, do you want to be a guest on the show? I said, who show? They said, Peter Rosenberg. I'll kind of ignore it. They come back, they say, yo, we'll pay you to be on it. I'm like, well, y'all asked me, usually you don't even have to do that. Anyway, I kind of brush up. I said, I'd rather not, you know what I mean? I don't like to, if me and you ain't really cool, there's no amount of money that could just be like, oh, I'm just here going to fake it. So, I'm not disrespected at that time. I just, whatever. Anyway, I finally see him at Complex, right? When I see him at Complex, this is another thing about how hilarious how, some of these guys, where they feel they're at, because they don't know grind and hustle. Me, I know grind and hustle. These dudes, they're walking around like divas. You get me? Me, I used to record YouTube videos in the back of my mom's at 3. So I don't need too much to really get it popping. You give me a small room, I'll fucking put some pads up on the wall, get a little mic, I'll figure out how to edit. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. This dude comes in, he got hair, makeup, he got a million things, he's a bad bitch, right?
You got hair and makeup?
Bro, he came with 15 people. They're yo, this is his glam squad. I'm like, what the fuck? All right, I'm not knocking it. Do your thing. Again, these dudes come from a different era. They're probably walking around like they're walking on clouds. Anyway, he pops out of the room. I'm in the hallway. He sees me. He's like, yo, what up, Ak? And I'm like, I just kind of like give one of these. Not thinking nothing of it. That's the end of our exchange. We don't talk more. I don't say nothing else to him. Not giving him no dirty looks. I'm just doing my thing. I'm about to leave. He's coming in because he's going to shoot soon. I hear him on Hot 97. He said, man, I ran to that nigga Ak. Wait, he said, nigga. He said, I ran to Ak. He said, yo. Yo, he said, I ran to
Ak. I need that audio if that's the case.
Yo, he said, I ran into Ak. And when I ran into him, yo, his demeanor was just like he was scared. I'm like, what? I'm like, yo, this is when I realized people are picking on me because, you know, like, I've always said, bro, I don't want to out-tough it with you guys, like in hip-hop. Bro, I'm a regular person. I'm going to just be me. But some people, especially when the likes of like Rosenberg, they try to hop on that, oh, Ak is just this soft-ass bitch who is like quivering when he sees humans. So he said that, and I'm like, brother, are you serious? So anyway, I called him out to box, hit him up privately. I said, yo, you know what? You clearly think I'm something that I'm not. I said, let's set up a private boxing match. Nobody has to know. No filming, no nothing. Get a ring, whatever. All DMs, like nothing comes out. Because he also went on a rant on Instagram about me. I'm like, let's just do it. You know what I mean? Whatever, we could just handle it privately. This dude sent me a whole fucking novel, like one of them Harry Potter books, bro, in my DM. No, I don't want to fight. Actually, in reality, you know, I heard some comments you said that I was jealous of you, and I'm not jealous, even though I know you're like, it was crying to me like a hoe. So I'm like, yo, man, just get out my DMs, bro. Like, you keep saying stuff about me when I don't start with you guys.
Yeah.
But you guys are trying to like the industry doesn't change. Y'all niggas can't bully me no more. So again, he didn't want to, we could have handled some whatever shit he wanted to do physically. Don't want to do it. Now he's online just saying all type of stuff. So when recently there was some audio taken out of context, they put it up. He's jumping in there like gassing it. These got ramifications now, you know what I mean? Vlad, you might let certain shit slide with you. You're not going to play with me like that. So as soon as I seen he's jumping on some stuff that's very hurtful and detrimental to my character, something that's completely false, has painted me in a light that is not me. Now I got to go on the offensive because I know a bunch of stuff about you. And I do know your wife definitely left you for some nigga who was working in the mailroom, okay? And I'm Vlad, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm like, yo, listen, it's not my fault. I'm like, nigga, you focus on the wrong black man. Like, it's a dude slanging BBC on your ex-wife. Like, you need to go handle that. After that, he called some mutual people. He said, oh, I don't want no smoke with Ak. You know why you don't want to smoke with Ak? Because Ak will air everything out. There's no like, okay, we're going here. They're used to doing like these radio wars where they sell. No. Again, even though I mentioned his family, I mentioned it in a factual basis. I'm not disrespecting the queen of the black man's queen now. But I got to be just factual with it. He don't want to go back and forth with me. I just want him to leave me alone. You know what I mean? Like these dudes never embraced me in the beginning. None of them niggas said how nice ever embraced me. I remember I used to, when I just got in the game, I tried to do an interview with them because I did an interview with Charlemagne. These niggas was beefing like Bloods and Crips. That's why I'm looking at all them like bozos. Y'all getting pay cuts, fired, moved around because the company not loyal to you. Back in the day, I was trying to do an interview with y'all. You know what they told me? Ain't you Charlemagne's boy? Why are you coming over here? I'm like, nigga, what you mean why I'm coming over here? This like Bloods and Crips? Like, if you fuck with them Power 105 dudes, you can... Really? Half of the people who said, half of the people who I was trying to reach out to don't even work for MS Communication no more. They banging some shit they don't own. That's the whole problem. Yeah. These dudes is gangbanging with flags that belong to the white dude who basically, I guarantee the person who owns MS Communication is cool with the person cool with Clear Channel. They don't give a fuck. They probably do business together. Yeah. But these little, like, they're running around like peons, like, nah, you work over there. They used to do some dumb shit in New York too. Where it's like, yo, the DJs couldn't really DJ with each other if they're on rival stations.
That's crazy.
Yo, they're literally gangbanging over some corporate shit.
Yeah. I mean, look, Rosenberg, you know, I think maybe a year ago or something, shit, like, when everyone was running with some fake rumor that I got someone arrested or whatever, and he was like, "Oh, I don't know why anyone would do interviews with Vlad, and I'm nothing like Vlad." Like, yeah, motherfucker, you're nothing like Vlad.
Oh, I hate that.
Absolutely. You don't own none of the shit that you make. You haven't achieved 1% of the success
Talk that shit,
that I've achieved.
Talk that shit, Vlad.
If anyone mentions a Peter Rosenberg and a VladTV worldwide, they're going to say, "Oh, you're talking about Eminem's manager?" Like, no, the guy on the radio with the second mic. Like, we don't know who that is. At the end of the day, you can't compare what you do with what the fuck I do and talk down on me or whatever the fuck else.
The only thing Peter Rosenberg is working for is hoping that he gets invited to the, like at big companies, they'd be like, "Yo, we're having a party for everybody who did 15 years a year." Like, that's him. You know what I mean? Like, the nigga is in a position where there is no upgrade. There is no "Oh shit, I can't wait to get the promotion." It's none of that. You know what I mean?
The same job for like 15 years.
Bro,
and the crazy part about it is like, yo, you would think that someone like him would be like, "Yo, I'm seeing what Vlad is doing and we should fuck with each other. Like we should, but it's like almost like he's looking down on me because he's on the radio and I'm not, and I got a little YouTube channel. Like, motherfucker, like this is the exact wrong way to deal with people because like I've always said with you, I always embrace everyone who's coming up. I always do. And it's like, yo, hit me up. I see what you're doing. You, Sean Cotton, even the Tasha K's of the world before she started making up lies about me. Like everyone knows Adam 22, motherfucking everybody. Charlemagne when he was coming up. Everyone I'm cool with. And it's like, yo, I see what you're doing. Math Hoffa. Yeah. All these dudes will tell you like Vlad fucked with us and helped us out. They could all call me up and ask me for advice and I will give them all the information at any point. Why do these radio dudes have this like looking down on you fucking attitude? Like somehow I'm not doing way more than what the fuck Vlad, they're doing.
Vlad, they're salty at their lack of movement.
Yep.
They're salty that they're stagnant. They're also, let me put it like this, you can't turn somebody with a worker mentality into a boss. Let me tell you why Peter Rosenberg would be the most mad, and he should be. Because I'm just not no hater, I call a spade, and I'll give people their credit. One of the first hip-hop podcasts, salute to obvious, rest in peace, Combat Jack. In that realm, the Cypher Sounds and on Rosenberg podcast. Yeah. Like, that was one of those premier hip-hop podcasts before I even got into podcasting. Mm-hmm. If he wasn't just such a worker, man, he would have had the biggest podcast network owning it. No, like he would have signed because he was before everybody else. You know what happened? People came on his block selling a better product than him and kicked him off the block. Of course I'd be mad. Like I'd be driving down the block like, man, I'm telling old stories where, I used to hustle over there. I used to really
I was the man on this block. I ran this whole shit.
I was the man, okay? Right. He just never leveled up. If he had any type of business smart,
right?
You're on the radio. You already got the prestige. Everybody wants to fold up under the radio dude. You see that podcast is a medium that was getting more and more accepted. I didn't even see it yet. All you got to do, don't beef with everybody else. Just kind of be like, yo, take them under the fold. Maybe you get a network. He'll be one of the biggest podcasts right now in the game. What is he doing? This motherfucker is narrating goddamn chokeholds and ankle locks in motherfucking WWE. I kid you not.
Right.
Like this guy just asked as an interview and they know it's a worker. You got to put the worker back to work.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with Julia Beverly. Like Ozone was the biggest shit, but she was a hater. Like she like literally was like trying to down my shit and try to tear my shit down. And in the process, look, Ozone is a dead fucking entity. She's never... What is she? She co-wrote a book for Pimp C? Like, that's the only thing I've heard her do in the last 15 years.
No, Vlad got smoke for her.
Man, listen. I mean,
I like Peter
double XL, like Vanessa. I remember she was hating on my meeting when I was meeting with her boss at Double XL because she was threatened by my presence there. Double XL has a freshman cover and that's it. Other than that, they're completely a dead property. That's all they have. I'm surprised that they still have a staff.
But you know what, though? My mentality... And that's what I've realized. That's why I don't shame him too much. I just try to put him in his place. I don't shame him too much because you need dudes like Rosenberg. Like, Rosenberg is a dude that, like, who knows? Your company might expand. Maybe you want to do a documentary on 90s hip-hop. You could hire somebody like that to go out in the field. You get me? Go out in the trenches of Brooklyn. You know what I mean? He gonna find the guys, get these nice little interviews, bring back to you. You own the product. You give him $2,500, get him out of the way. You get me? Vlad TV make like 100 bands. He make 2,500. That's how he likes to rock.
Everyone's happy.
Everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy.
He gets to go home to his new girl like, yo, you know what I just got?
There
Vlad
we go.
told me to
Peter
check.
Rosenberg, listen, man, if you want to do
Come
some
on.
interviews, listen, Peter, I'm going to put
Bring
this
him
out
on.
there. Peter, if you want to do some interviews for Vlad TV, I'm not even joking right now. I'm serious.
For
If
real.
you want to come do some interviews for Vlad TV, I'll pay you to do those interviews.
Because
And we'll film them and we'll edit them and it'll be our content. But if you want to do some shit, I got a check for you. You know, I don't know how much you make in a Hot 97. I don't think it's that much.
$2,500.
$2,500, I got you.
$2,500.
I got you.
Yo, listen, you could have him sit down with some of these super backpack rappers. You probably wouldn't even know some of these songs. Yo, Peter, you do that, brother, okay? You send him, and by the way, it's an all-in fee. You got to get the cameraman, the sound man, everybody.
No, I'll provide the cameraman. I'll do everything. That'll be his fee. But you also went in on a Jesus and Meru.
Yeah, get him out of here too, man.
Right. And who's the fat one?
I don't know. There's a light-skinned one and the black.
Who's the light skin one?
The light-skinned one, I think his name is Miro.
Mira. Okay. Mira used to always like make little comments about me, calling me the cops and, you know, calling me the police and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you something about Jesus and Mira. They did all this work at Vice, and then they got fired. They walked away from all that content. Then they went to Showtime,
Mm-hmm.
did a bunch of work at Showtime, split up, show ended. They walked away from all that content. They now, in their 40s, have to start all over again from zero,
Yeah.
with no income streams from any of the work they've done over the past decade to start over. And you talking shit about me. At the end of the day, I could stop working right now and I could literally just live off my royalties for the rest of my life. But the whole thing is like, why do dudes like that who have these gigs? I remember like they were talking shit about you. Oh, we got a real TV show and you got a little podcast.
That's the problem, Vlad. We have we're seeing the day arrive for all the people that used to try to shit on. You're just on Vlad's couch. You're so like, in reality, your YouTube channel does more numbers than actual network TV.
Easy.
Right?
Easy.
Now,
we do up to 3 million views a day.
come on. So think about that, right? There was a time where people would try to shame people like me and you because in reality, this is a worker mentality. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with it because, you know, Dame Dash talked about this too a little bit. You know, there's nothing wrong with trying to get your brand bigger by attaching to a different brand. That's why I went to Complex. So I don't knock that.
Yeah.
But some of these guys, they don't look at themselves as a brand. They're just following a check. So in reality, they look at, I'm on Showtime now, I've made it. But you know, every season they got to green light it. You know, every season they might kick you off. They might just realize that you guys are getting unfunnier and unfunnier by the day.
Right.
And when they're done with you, you're on Twitter talking about how you're beefing with the other guy. He's not beefing with the other guy. The other guy realizes he's more talented than you. And he's about to leave you because he's tired of carrying you. That's what happened. So now you have nothing to kind of like, you know, but this is why I'm happy. The era where people used to think they're on TV so it matters is over.
Yep.
By the way, like, also even TV is different. There's these quasi TV networks popping up. Zeus, like,
Yep.
like they're figuring out a formula. It's more subscription based, more than just like terrestrial, like get cable channels or whatever the case is. And TV is just not the platform where you could just think you've made it anymore, which I'm very happy about.
I agree. The YSL Rico case.
Oh man.
28 people, including Young Thug and Gunna. No one's getting bond. And now Young Thug has like 4 new charges, including essentially the switch that they found in his, you know, the converted gun, you know, into an automatic.
Lock with a switchy, man.
They're calling a machine gun at this point.
It's classified by the ATF as a machine gun.
Yeah, which is 10 years by itself.
Which, by the way, all these rappers, like, I've never see, you know, like, you know, I'm licensed and everything. You know, I'm a huge gun collector. I'll say that. But like, it's never until the last couple of years I've heard rappers just rap so consistently about having a Glock with a switch and third. However, that's a federal offense unless it is registered, which is not giving a registration to niggas.
Well,
okay?
you can't register a fully automatic gun.
No, you can't. Well, if a gun was made before like 86,
you can't register a switch.
No, yeah, not a switch.
Yeah,
not a switch.
Yeah, no, yeah. If you had a fully automatic from the 80s, then you got grandfathered in.
Yeah.
But what he got caught
not
with,
a Glock with a switch. Nah, hell nah.
A Glock with a switch is
reality,
fully illegal.
Rappers been rapping about this shit. They've been rapping about it like, I think they've been promoting now more than ever. You know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy that now they have him on one of those charges, and this charge is gonna, if not for anything else, and the reason why I think they dropped these new charges is that they don't even want him to get bond. And for get bond, they want him to just look at, bro, you need to take a hefty plea and we not go to trial. They're not trying to go to trial with none of these guys. This is a RICO case. You know what I mean? I don't know, fans sometimes are delusional. They're like, yo.
It's a state RICO case.
You're right. But still, it's a RICO case.
Yep.
With the RICO case, the obviously this has got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, but they get to be a lot more hazier in the sense of, well, we know he did the shooting, but you were driving in his car.
Well, Young Thug rented the car that was involved in a murder.
Okay.
Like, that's established.
Okay, no. But hear what I'm trying to say, and this is why a RICO case, even if, like, okay, granted, I know some people might be thinking, oh, no, he rented the car for the guy to go do a murder. But put it like this, Young Thug's a famous celebrity. Man, when I go out with my people, like, sometimes we rent 5 cars. Now, granted, I'm not rolling around with criminals. And I would hope ain't nobody who I might be like, yo, this SUV for you, but I'll use your rent on a business name.
Mm-hmm.
If some dummy that I think ain't like that grabs that car, pulls up to somebody's hood, and does a shooting, they're going to immediately link me to that car. Well, who rented the car that we got on surveillance tape where somebody's out the window with a Glock with a switch on it? They said, well, it's DJ Akademiks that rented it. Now they're going to think, well, does DJ Akademiks have any beef with that guy? Well, by just nature of association, this is my friend. He didn't like him, so I never talked to him. And maybe we wouldn't have words back and forth, but now we're claiming the same type of group or quote organization that they're calling a gang. They're going to say that I paid for the shit. So again, I'm not saying whether Thug is innocent or guilty, but like in a RICO case, once they just start dumping mountains of evidence, it's impossible that you're going to get a jury to believe that it's just all wrong place, wrong time, coincidence. It's basically like, hey, are you willing to go balls to the wall, or are you going to take a plea?
Yeah, and Young Thug is facing some heinous time. Football numbers.
Yeah,
easy,
no, of course.
Easy. Like, when I interviewed, George Sheedy, the Atlanta journalist who really knew about all this as it was coming together, he was saying 30, 40 years would not be uncommon for what he's looking at. And, when I interviewed Boosie said some real shit. He said, look, there's 28 people that are involved in this case. You can't shake a bag with 28 eggs and expect none to break.
I was like, man, I don't know, bro. Once it go to trial, and I hear the evidence and see how bad it is. But like I told him, it's hard to put 28 eggs in a crate and shake all of them, and none of them don't crack.
They got some document that I seen, to Gossip in the City T. They already got some paperwork that some of the people are cooperating.
Of course, there's already proffer agreements, which means that you could cooperate without it being used against you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they don't want the little guys that they never heard of. They want the big, they're clout chasing just like everything else, just like everybody else. So they want the Young Thug. Now, Gunna, I feel, is really being railroaded because Gunna was just, he got pulled over and that car behind him had some guns. He got a fix-it ticket for like tinted windows. But he's being given no bond.
Yeah.
And really what's crazy is like, look, Tekashi 6ix9ine, he cooperated against everybody. He came out with some semblance of a career. The career may have to live overseas.
Yeah.
But, listen, Nicki Minaj did a song with him. Akon did a song with him. He could still do shows, even America, and people will come because everyone kind of knew that he was just a kid that was sort of caught up in this shit. If Young Thug cooperates and comes out, I don't think.
Hold on. Let's bring that back. It's 6ix9ine's my guy. It wasn't a kid caught up in this. And by the way, this is why I think they're coming to Atlanta. I think, and by the way, I just seen one today for Philly. Like the DA in Philly just called out about 10 rap gangs.
Really?
And 2 of those, I want to, there's a video of this.
Mm-hmm.
You'll know those 3 letters or whatever because it's directly associated to rappers. I think what's happening now is that these DAs is tired of these rich rappers using their wealth and their influence to encourage and run up the crime rate. I was shocked recently when I've been looking at, I said, why is everybody going so crazy in Atlanta, like in terms of arrests? Man, the crime in Atlanta been looking crazy, man. They trying to compete with Chicago.
Yeah.
Everybody, then somebody broke it down to me. They said, yo, everybody's catching their cases or doing some dumb shit elsewhere, and Atlanta the meetup spot. So somebody does some fraud, shoots somebody in New York, they run to Atlanta. Somebody in Detroit just did a robbery, whatever the case is, police are looking for them, run to Atlanta. Then when everybody run to Atlanta, they start bumping into each other. Because the nigga you don't like in Detroit, you all of a sudden see him at the party spot. Now you got a Glock with a switch or a Draco. And then there's more murders and shit like that. Yeah. So I think what's happening right now, the DA is trying to get these rappers the fuck out the city. Because they're all coming in with too much money. It's way cheaper in Atlanta compared to here. So like some of these dudes ain't really got it like that, but they going down there and they're moving like they're Pablo Escobar. The crime is going up, and this is what I was saying about the 6ix9ine compared to the 6ix9ine shit compared to like, you know, even the YSL stuff is like, they're realizing that these rappers are getting emboldened by how rich and how people like these days they're not falling up under a big homie. They're all these indictments are saying the big homie is the rich rap nigga.
Yeah.
And then anytime you read these indictments, you never see, because they'll go all the way back. Oh, this goes back to 2013. You'll never hear, oh, before he got rich and famous, he was the big homie. He was never the big homie.
Right.
He's only the big homie once he's now rich.
Well, I mean, but that's what happened with Suge Knight, right? Suge Knight was not the mob Pyru kingpin until he became the rich owner of Death Row.
Yeah.
And suddenly he started gathering all the gang members, all the Bloods and everything else like that. And that's when all the violence started and so forth. It's really kind of the same story, except, you know, Suge Knight wasn't a rapper technically, but it's kind of the exact same thing.
You got to remember, if we think about other times where either the feds or the police swoop in because they believe like there's some criminal enterprise coming in, usually the person that they're putting at the head or they're targeting ain't the rapper. Like, you know, if we think about BMF, you know what I mean? Jeezy was associated with that, but they're not like, oh, Jeezy's running shit. Like, it was clearly something else going on there. Right now, they're saying that it's all the rappers doing it, which I think partly where street rap is at now, like, these dudes is bringing the street shit into the music, man. They're not only inciting more beefs, they're not only continuing beefs, but they're also operating they're operating with impunity. Like, nobody can touch them. And some of the evidence that you're seeing, like, come out, it's shocking to me because you're like, when do these niggas really have time? You know what I mean? Like, or why would you even do such a thing and think you wouldn't even get caught?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things in the YSL indictment, in the paperwork was YFN Lucci's mom got shot, and Young Thug made a lyric about, I shot your mother, now he won't mention me. Now, there was some time that passed between these two events, but why would you ever mention anything like that? Knowing what had happened, knowing that your beef with this guy is public.
Vlad, fuck that. Why would you get on Instagram on your story and tag him and said, I would have been killed you if I ain't like you, if I ain't like what you did for your kids and your mom. I'm like,
it's insane.
So it's one of those things where like, yo, I'm 100% also in the same school of thought of, I hope they don't weaponize lyrics, but then the YSL situation is not one of those things I can say they're weaponizing lyrics. They're supported by a lot of shit that we don't know.
Text messages.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah. No, it all comes together. And you go and get a jury, a bunch of middle-aged people who aren't fans of these guys, and they see it all laid out. It's going to be a lot of plea deals coming down the line.
I think rap is going through a cleansing right now. As I said, all these DAs, they're following each other. As I said, the Philly DA, they literally said, like, I'm going to send you the video. They said, hey, we know so-and-so is beefing with so-and-so, like 2 gangs. They said, listen, if you are in these gangs, you better stop. And if you are around these gangs, you better get the hell away from them. Indictments are coming. They literally just said it. And they named 10 of them. So it's like one of those things where like the police, they're kind of keen to what's going on. And they're also linking a lot with music. So, you know, we're in the biggest gangster era ever now. Like, you know what I mean? I used to think when I was a kid that the biggest gangsters was like in the 90s and 2000s. Until I talked to them dudes, they were like, there was never this much bodies. What are you talking about? They're like, yo, no, rappers are dying way more frequently now. People are getting, there's just way too much activity going on.
Yeah, it's true.
And what's happening now, I think the police is saying they now got to react to that, which means they're going to incarcerate way more rappers than ever before. So again, you know, I think this era is going to come with new music too, because like, you know, after they lock up all these real street nigga rappers, like it's going to go back to color hair shit. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, Gucci Mane recently told rappers to stop dissing the dead.
Yeah. People ain't like that.
Right, because he also was the one that dissed, he said, when he's talking about, Pookie Loke, talking about, you know, go dig your partner up, bet you won't say shit, talking about, you know, Jeezy's man. And the thing with Gucci is that not only did he do that lyric, but he actually performed it in front of Jeezy to his face.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm smoking on a Pookie pack right now.
Yeah.
To his face, as far apart as me and you are right now.
One of the most gangster shit I've ever seen in hip hop. And I ain't no gangster. I was just
it's one of those, like, right message, wrong messenger.
Well,
yeah.
well, that's what they, well, that's the thing. Because I think what Gucci might not realize, it's an unintended consequence. I don't think when he was like, I still bump the truth to this day. Man, that shit's so hard. Like, and you know why it's even harder? It's real. So like, I'm bumping, I'm like, God damn, he's saying this stuff. Some of what 50 put in music, it's like mad drill rappers came, Fredo Santana was like, yo, bro, of course, I was inspired when I heard 50 made the song Heat. I'm like, damn, this is some real shit. Mm-hmm. So it all inspires each other. And what happens is, unfortunately, you look like the old nigga, or you're getting too old for being gangster when you tell people, oh no, you were wrong. So Gucci has grown, he's in a different place. He's now trying to be an executive. And even though he did go crazy at that performance.
Right, Versus was only like a year ago.
Yeah, no. But that's not how he's living. Like Gucci showed up to that shit with wild amount of security. You know what I mean? He's not moving like how he was moving, super reckless. Gucci used to be in the mall like catching fades with niggas.
Right.
Throwing chicks out of cars, hitting niggas in the head with a bottle. Like Gucci ain't been moving like that.
Right.
I think, you know, he had a personal vendetta with Jeezy. That's why he had to get that off.
Well, I mean, he felt like he tried to kill him.
No, of course.
You know, and a beef like that will probably go on forever to a certain degree. They did it together, but it's not like they're buddies now and they're, you know, and they're hanging out and so forth. Like it's hard to get over someone trying to kill you.
And by the way, I heard Gucci got like $1 million to be on that stage.
I believe it.
I heard Apple get that nigga $1 million. I think both of them got $1 million.
I believe it. Well, because then 21 Savage chimes in and he
there we go.
And he says, yo, Atlanta needs to stop, you know, put the guns down. And someone's like, spin the block twice like I got no place to park. And he was like, man, that's just entertainment.
He came in a rose, he left in a stretcher. Yo, but that's what I'm trying to say. Like, unfortunately, when you're part of spreading that message of violence, the day you say, it's like the old dude on the block when like he used to be getting it in and he tell me like, yo, y'all got to stop with the shooting. They're like, oh, you soft, you pussy. Which could be further, it could be further from the truth with 21. But that's how they're reacting to him. So it's kind of like right message, wrong messenger. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, and this is where we get into like a philosophical type of, you know, question, because this is why I think they're attacking 21. Because 21 was mentioning a lot of things saying, yo, bro, I've done mad, you know, give backs, you know, toy drives, you know, we're giving backpacks away. I've done a lot of great things to the community. Also, I've starting to get into teaching people financial literacy. Mm-hmm. Like he was even in a magazine for that. You know what I mean? Why can't I be multifaceted and say that as well?
Well, I think part of the problem is that, for example, you take someone like a No Malice from the Clips, right? And I interviewed him. And he said, look, one day I woke up and said, how many people got their head blown off listening to my music? And it bothered me. So I became Christian. I changed my name to No Malice, and I no longer rap about that.
Can you imagine, or a statement, whatever, but can you imagine how many people went to jail listening to the things that I said? Forget everybody else, you know, and other rappers and other groups. Think about how many times people got pulled over, went to jail, my record playing in the car. Think about how many times somebody's head was blown out, you know, and the theme music still playing or whatever, because I know I liked who I listened to and wash my car to it, pump my gas in it, and it was just the theme music to my life. So you create that vibe. You definitely create that vibe. This isn't an opinion. This isn't, trying to rap shame or anything like that. This is truth. We do tend to gravitate towards what we are filling our minds and eyes and ear gates with, definitely. And I don't know anyone who could deny that.
So when someone like that puts out a message like that, you're like, okay, he actually is putting some weight behind his words, and he's actually changing his content. I'm going to guess that the next 21 Savage album is probably going to have the same type of lyrics as the last 21 Savage album. Yeah. This Drake song is new. And he's talking about shooting people in the song. So you could say, oh, it's just entertainment, it's just lyrics, but we all know what it's like to listen to that type of shit and the effect that has on people. Even me, you get pumped up, you feel violent, you feel like you want to do some of that shit. It just is what it is. And I think that's why people gave him a hard time over that.
And I think people kind of look at some of these rappers like, okay, we get it. Because, to 21 Savage point, he said, man, I'm telling my story. I interviewed Lil Osama. He was just like, man, I'm in a privileged part of my life right now. He's like, anytime you hear me rap about violence, I'm telling my previous story. Now, Lil Osama just got on. He got one song. You get me? So that's kind of like really popping. We get it at that point, but we're also seeing people who are like super mega millionaires. Like you're rapping about spinning blocks and you're in private jets all day. You know what I mean? And I think that's where, it loses the sincerity of the message, because they might be like, okay, we get it. Like, we get it when 21 just came out of the hood, but now they're thinking like, well, if you really mean that, you're really rich and successful, you don't necessarily have to do that. But in reality, what fans want, I remember saying this way back about 21 when he was just like, yo, he was diversified. And I said, nah, you better keep rapping about that gangster shit, because that's what fans want.
Right.
I don't know if these artists could change their message. You know what I mean? Like, if these artists, like say a Meek Mill, say a 21, say they change their message to, yo, listen, man, let's just go for peace, put the guns down. You know what the fans gonna say? Yo, these niggas are lame now. He got soft.
Well, I mean, look what happened to the Clips. Who is the most poppin' member in the Clips? Is it No Malice or is it Pusha T?
Nah, Pusha, man. Still
Pusha T. I believe I think when he performed in Virginia with Pharrell, he literally had like on his set, like,
got the bricks of
cocaine. Yeah. I mean, I know it wasn't real bricks of cocaine, but obviously that was the imagery that he was trying to portray out there.
Let me ask you this question then. So, because another part of this that I kind of understood with 21, because I did the war in Chirac, and I was like, I remember when someone said to me, people died because of you. And I said, damn, like, you tell me because I did this series, people died? It's a very heavy weight to carry. And I think the reason why 21 was kind of like responding so vehemently, he's like, well, despite what you might say, even if I'm glorifying it, it's kind of art still.
Yeah.
And if you're saying that I'm the reason, like, I think with hip hop, taking accountability for the side effects of what music does, it's always been hard. Back in the day, when they used to, y'all remember when they had Cameron and Dame Dash on Bill O'Reilly? You know what they said? What about the parents? Mm-hmm. So it's always the blame game, right? It's never like, yo, well, maybe the violence is up because I'm making a lot of great murder music. You know what I mean? Nobody's gonna say that, right? You know what they're gonna say? Well, listen, somebody should be smart enough and intellectual enough to know not to commit a murder or violence because they're listening to a song that sounds good over 808 beat, right? So no one's really ever going to take responsibility of it. I know music ain't the only reason why this is going on, but it's definitely a part of it. And so I always say it's shared responsibility.
Well, the NBA YoungBoy Lil Durk beef, which at this point is deadly.
Yeah.
People have died behind it, a lot of violence behind it, a lot of people getting dragged in through it. I remember NBA YoungBoy's manager said that their first tour stop will be Chicago.
Yeah.
And, 600 Breezy kind of chimed in.
What did he say?
Yeah, I told him to bring them dirty Dickie suit wearing niggas. That's just like, you know, like.
And people are saying you're talking about Quando Rondo and Lil Tim.
Of course.
Right.
Because what's the problem with NBA YoungBoy? Like everybody, you know, like whatever he got going on with Durk and them and shit, that's industry shit, bro. The YoungBoy ain't do shit to nobody.
Yeah, nah. That's one of those, the interesting thing about that beef is like, we feel like it hasn't reached its ultimate conclusion.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And that's the problem.
That's the problem.
And unfortunately, it feels like the ultimate conclusion is one of those guys getting either incarcerated or dying.
Yeah, I mean, because me and Breezy talked about the situation about like, listen, when YoungBoy comes to Chicago, he's going to do like the United Arena, right? He's not going to do some club. He's going to do the big shit. And can he pull that off? Probably. He's going to come with massive security.
Man, he's going to pull it. Hey, listen, let me tell you this, man. Listen, with all due respect to 600 Breezy, okay? Because if somebody's doing an arena in your city, you're not stopping it. Now, a club, yeah, he'll stop it, okay? A 1,200 venue, yeah. I remember I went to Philly when in the midst of the Drake and Meek beef.
Yeah, we actually talked about that. Breezy was with Drake in Philly during that beef.
Man, even if Breezy wasn't with him, man, I've never seen more police officers in my life. When they left, bulletproof car after bulletproof car, you would literally have to have a small nuke to kill Drake at that point. I'm telling you. So it's like one of those things where like, a guy who's coming there who's about to impact that city, that's millions of dollars in revenue, you're not touching, brother, okay? Right. Unless he's dumb. Now, if he goes to the mall, obviously.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, he basically said if he just comes in with his homies, then it's going to be a problem. If he had a bunch of police with him. But then again, Chief Keef could probably do that same arena. But he's never been back to Chicago physically, period.
Well, he's been banned from performing there a lot.
Really?
Yeah. Chicago, I don't know if you remember, they tried to do a virtual performance, Chief Keef by hologram. They banned that shit. They plugged it out. The cops went on stage. Look it up.
Really?
Yes.
That's crazy.
The cops went on stage. Remember, the mayor used to speak out against Chief Keef. That's why I think Chief Keef just says, yo, I'm good off of that. He used to have legal problems there where they wanted him to be incarcerated for a while. He finally left. And then even when people thought that he was avoiding a warrant and not actually physically showing up there, he was going to perform at a show. That's when the hologram technology was, which, by the way, the guy he signed to, Dave.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The billionaire guy. Yeah, he's into that technology too.
Right.
So they're like, fuck it, we're going to have him by hologram, right? Like perform. And the police literally plug the shit out. No, they're not doing it.
That's crazy.
So I think he would love to because he's the biggest thing in Chicago still.
Still, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they won't let it happen.
Yeah, and look, like, Lil Durk dissed me on his last album. He said, I don't fuck with Vlad. He threw up the middle finger in the video. And I'm just like, the fuck is this about? Like, I've really been supportive of this dude a lot through his whole early career. Like in the 2013, 14, I remember I pulled up on him in LA when I had the Maserati. There's pictures of us together hanging out. We would talk. He would tweet me, so I would retweet him and everything else like that. And it's like, now you want to diss me on a record, but nobody knows why.
Hey, Durk, I think Durk is the smartest gangster rapper. What I mean by smartest, I think he knows how to move the algorithm, say things to sell records. And I think that's why it gets a little dicey, because I think at times he'll say stuff to make a moment that might actually get him or people around him heat in the streets. Like, he literally rapped on this guy's record, Lil Zay Osama, right? He literally rapped on his record. I know I told you I'm going to keep your son's name out my mouth, but his cousin and them, they going to die. And he said multiple times, I'm gonna stop rapping about the dead, but basically just went around it. All right, I won't rap about a dead guy, but the guys who are living, they're dying too.
Right,
you know what I mean?
It's
like,
look at how many people have died around Lil Durk. The number of people that have died around him is heinous.
Well, here's the thing I try to consider.
Like,
because
the OTF dudes, like, seriously. King Von is one of many OTF members that have died.
But he's living a real existence, though. So I try to look at it like this, right? In the sense of, is he dissing? And I think this is a question I always ask when an artist gets to his level. Are you dissing only to create moments to sell millions of records for these executives who are very comfortable and would never be shot at, right? Because even though he's getting the benefits of it too, but really you're doing it for the record label, right? Are you doing it solely for that, or are these just genuine issues that are part of your art? And I kind of believe it's a little both. I think he knows how to manipulate both. I think he really don't like it. I think every nigga he does, he really don't like.
Yeah, but
So it's a little bit
and him
organic.
don't have any sort of real beef. You
Oh,
see what I'm
no,
saying?
not with
And
you.
this is what I'm saying.
I'm
But
talking about the dead people he does.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, just the overall friction that he's creating at a level that he's at, that he doesn't have to do that. He's doing songs with Kanye. Like he's doing songs with Cardi B. It's just
Wait, hold on. That point will go back to the 21 Savage point. So this is the empirical question. Are these guys just hot because they're just great musicians, or are they hot for one particular type of music? Durk, if you listen to the songs that have gotten him to the next level, is when he's rapping about beef, rapping about people who have died, right? Like, that's the content. It's not like he's like, yo, I got the designer on me, I'm just chilling, yo, I'm living life. No, he's rapping about very, like, in a sense, rapping about murder got him to the point he was at.
right.
So now we're all looking at him like, why don't you stop rapping about murder? But in reality, what got him to here? You get what I mean? It's same with 21 Savage. We're all looking at Savage like, okay, you've now made it off of rapping about killing. How about you start rapping about positivity? It's like, Vlad, you've gotten to this point by your YouTube channel doing things a certain way, and then people say, well, now change. So I look at it, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I see why, like, what people fail to acknowledge about these guys when we think about why, if you're at this level of your career, you're still involved in that. He doesn't get to this point of his career if he isn't doing that.
Yeah, but you also have to evolve over time.
True.
You have to evolve. Like, listen, we did a bunch of porn star interviews early on, and at one point it's like,
You sent all of them to Adam 22 now.
Yeah, Adam could do all those. You know, I mean, for example, and this is someone you've interviewed recently, Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Andrew Tate, you know, his people approached us to do an interview.
Yeah.
I looked him up and I'm like, nah, I'm good. And yeah, on Vlad TV, me and Andrew Tate could probably get 10 million views. I get it, right? But low-hanging fruit is often rotten. And you get to a point where, yeah, you may be known for this, but you have to grow and evolve, because as you get bigger, you're under a bigger microscope, you have more to lose, and you're trying to build a brand that could withstand all the little cancel cultures waves that come from time to time. And my thing was like, I'm good. You know, I interviewed Kevin Samuels. It was a dope interview, but we never did another one. Because I'm like, some of the shit he says about women and so forth, I wasn't really feeling. And women around me, especially black women, were like, we're not feeling this. You know, this is insulting. And I'm like, okay, I get it. And you have to put certain things aside. Now, you interviewed him. Yeah.
Really, the majority of stuff we talked about was just his view on just, like, you know, relationships. You know, and I think people, there is a avid push these days. It's like almost like men's rights advocates that, you know, kind of want men to view relationships. Like, I think there's a big push for polygamy these days. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, hey, high value man, you get all the women you want.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I think he's one of the charismatic people who could explain in a way that's somewhat palatable to many dudes who want to hear that message. So there is a place for it.
I'm not a misogynistic person.
Yeah.
I am a man, and I have probably an 85% male audience, and I understand that, and I cater to that. But at some point you say, it's not worth it.
Well, I think he fits in the same bubble in the sense of like the message being preached and the audience that he's looking for that goes with. I think I told you about these guys. I tried to get you to interview them. Fresh and Fit.
Yeah.
There's like a huge push. I think Kevin Samuels was, and to a certain extent, I think Andrew Tate's a replacement for Kevin Samuels.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel that Kevin is trying to take Kevin Samuels' place now that Kevin passed away. I get it. I get the whole thing. But listen, in 2013, I probably would have done the interview because I'm just looking at the views.
Yeah.
But I'm not looking at just the views anymore. Our views are there. We got, 5.2 million subscribers at this point. And I try to really pick and choose what I want to put out there, as opposed to like, let me just chase the views or chase the money.
Let me ask you a question, because say even if I knew all that, right, going into that interview, which I didn't, it was really sporadic. He had just I shoot at the Fresh and Fit studio. He had just did their show, and it was like, hey, you want to, he's about to film a podcast. You want to do Akademiks podcast? It was like, yeah, let's do it. I thought we had a great conversation. Now, even if I knew all that, I probably would have still done it, just because the way I like to sit down with people who I either disagree with. I sat down with Candace Owens. Then
I was surprised you did that.
I'll sit down with most people who aren't putting out into the world things that are, I believe, of imminent harm to people. Different ideology. I'll even sit down with people I agree with and just play devil's advocate, because there's multi sides of a coin. You know what I mean? It's not, well, it is only two sides of a coin, but it's different sides of a die, right? And in reality, it's like, I love conversations that push people to think for themselves. And, when I sat down with Candace Owens, I agreed with certain things she said, but I disagreed vehemently with certain things. But I could have just made those things saying, I'm not going to sit down with her. I'm like, well, how about you try to get educated about it and try to challenge her on it, and be a buffer to some of the stuff she's saying. Same with Tariq. I agree a good amount with some of the stuff Tariq was saying. But certain stuff I don't fuck with at all either. I like the conversation. You get what I mean? Now, if I'm like, if I was sitting down with somebody who was just like, I like to murder is good, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a serial killer. I wouldn't do that. But if somebody has a different of opinion and I think they could eloquently convey those ideas and debate with me, I would sit down with them. Which I remember the whole Tekashi thing, when no one wanted, and I always think back to that, like, no one wanted to sit down with him. And I said, listen, only way I'm gonna sit down with this guy is if he's gonna give me the raw truth, and then also I could, at least given what I knew at the time, provide some challenges. Now, granted, like years later, like they did mad think pieces about it, saying, well, did you know this detail, this detail, this detail? I wasn't armed with everything at that moment, but I didn't run from the conversation. That's just my view on content, period. You know what I mean?
No, I feel you. And I understand your point of view of like, okay, you may not agree with certain things that the person says. And I had Tariq Nasheed on my platform. Mm-hmm. It was actually a relatively good conversation, but it wasn't until maybe a couple months later I interviewed Tommy Sotomayor.
Yeah.
And Tariq Nasheed literally burst into the studio to like confront him.
Yeah.
And, this whole situation just turned ugly and disrespectful. I'm like, I give this dude a platform only for him to come and burst into my fucking studio because he got a beef with the dude I'm interviewing. And Tommy saying I set him up. And then Tommy starts recording my phone calls. And I just say, and the Tommy Sotomayor shit, like I didn't really realize him. But once, when I look back at the interview, which I never put out, it was like very anti-black woman. You know what I'm saying? And I just said, something? I'm done with this whole fucking genre at this point. All these dudes who are like anti-everything and whatever, and their claim to fame is just being edgy, and don't really have actual talent behind what they do. They're not like stand-up comedians, or they're not artists or basketball players or whatever. I said, I'm cool with all this shit. I removed all the Tariq Nasheed shit. I never put out the Tommy Sotomayor shit. And I said, fuck this whole genre. I'm cool.
And by the way, so in the same almost situation how I got to interview Tate, I almost was gonna do something with Tommy. He was down in Miami.
Tommy Sotomayor?
Yeah. And listen, I'm open to doing it, but I remember saying, well, if he's gonna be on my platform, it gotta be constructive conversation. It can't be like, yo, you're just trying to get off, yo, fuck these black bitches. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if it's constructive, which I believe he has the ability to do. Now, I do think some of these guys, like, they'll go for the low-hanging fruit in name calling, in saying certain things that will excite or agitate a certain audience, which just takes away from any positive, because I think one thing that's Tommy, I agree with him on, is when he says that there is a push to remove black fathers out of the home, and that's very necessary. Just that. Okay. So just that, I think I could have a great conversation with him about. Now, when other things seeps in, which might be biases, might be genuine hate or whatever the case is, I don't want that to basically, destruct possibly a productive podcast, and I think that would just be on me to steer the conversation right, or choose whether or not to put it out if I'm done with it. You know what I mean?
Listen, I had that conversation, and he was like anti-black people. And I was just like, I'm like, the stuff you're describing is not specifically black, it's more about poor people and poor communities. You could pretty much take race out of it, and it applies to a poor community anywhere on earth, but you're trying to specifically say this is black, which I disagree with. And he had a hard time trying to defend that.
Yeah.
But at the whole time, it's like, I don't need to give someone who's anti-black, anti-woman, anti-whatever, a fucking platform. It's just like, you just do your own shit on your own stuff. And usually these guys' YouTube channels get shut down over this type of shit anyways. Like the Alex Jones types, like
Alex Jones.
Yeah, listen, an Alex Jones interview with VladTV will get 100 million views, but I don't want that shit. I don't want someone saying Sandy Hook was all farce.
Yeah,
it was all fake.
I think that's where it's on you to make sure that type of stuff, like even if it's on a cutting board, don't even make it out. Like,
right,
like,
but why even bother? When there's so many more interesting people out there to interview. And it's not like this is all you have access to.
Yeah.
You got access to 21 Savage. You got access to Kevin Gates.
I would love to have that
big
conversation with, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have it, like even about that Atlanta stuff.
Yeah.
And just kind of the role in terms of like where he feels his music plays a part in it. And also, him even putting out that message and the reaction to it. I think we have a great conversation about it. But I'll wrap that up with that type of, whether it's an Andrew Tate or Kevin Samuels, that realm. I do have one critique of it. And I think that, it's a little bit, I don't want to say it's necessarily predatorial, but I think they put it under the guise of self-improvement, but they don't really try to focus on things that really do help men over time. And helping men over time isn't just fucking chicks.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's also having successful families, building families, raising kids. They just stop at the point where you sleep with a woman. And obviously there's a lot of men who, some people call them incels or whatever, who have a problem with, even getting an opportunity to sleep with a woman. So of course they're going to eat that up because, it's like those.
It makes it feel better.
It's like pickup artists, like PUAs. That was a thing for a while where it's like, I'm going to teach you how to game a woman on how you could like get her. And I think these dudes, they're watching these guys flaunt money and wealth to say, well, if you're this, you get to treat women like this, but they don't really show the full picture. And I think that's the only problem.
Yeah. And I mean, for example, me and TK Kirkland, we had a conversation after Kevin Samuels died. And he was like, look, me and Kevin cover the same type of topics. Now, if you talk about a woman who's overweight, I'll be like, okay, if you're overweight, I'm going to work with you to lose weight. This is how you can exercise, maybe change your diet, maybe change some things about your lifestyle. Whereas Kevin Samuels would be like, bitch, kill yourself. Well, and that's sort of the difference between these two types of men.
I love the fact that he was direct and bold to the women, but I also wanted to give him game and knowledge but you got to give a female a solution because they're already fucked up in the head. They're already mad about the choices that they made. So when you tell a female that she's 35 and she's leftover, well, I could say that to you, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to get you to win if you listen to me. And that's why the TK Kirkland podcast is good. That's like everybody around the world listens to me because I give the solution. I'm going to teach you the game.
Let me say this to you, or let me ask you this question, because I think even when you say a lot of things that Andrew Tate says, a lot of things that what do you call it again? Kevin Samuels used to say, and a lot of things that even like say that Fresh and Fit says, Patrice O'Neal echoed. And he echoed in a very, obviously it was kind of laden with comedy, but it was very abrasive to some. And a lot of people like have appreciated his either comedy or what they believe the truth in his comedy, and it kind of has the same ideals. So it's also delivery. You know what I mean? Like people have given Patrice O'Neal like a higher level of, this guy was not only funny, but he was super smart after he's passed away for some of those ideas.
He's been gone for a while, and the world has changed since he died.
But they're doing it with Kevin Samuels now. A lot of people, like his clips keep coming up and up. You know why? they're martyrizing him. You know, right? Like they're looking at him and saying, "Well,
listen, I mean, they're on Vlad TV. They're on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I never took him down. You know, we did a flashback on his life story after it came out. But at the end of the day, the world changes, and like I said, it's low-hanging fruit. You could get someone who's really racist, really misogynistic, really, you know, really sexist, you know, someone who hates certain religions and so forth. And those views will go crazy because not only are the fans people who agree with it, but the people who hate that, you know, point of view will be in the comments arguing about this shit. So it creates a loop where it gets big. But like I said, a lot of that fruit is rotten.
Let me ask you a question. So what do you, another reason why I think, you know, for example, Andrew Tate is popular, I believe he's edgy. And I would ask you where you draw the line between edgy and being straight up a misogynist. Because I do think one of the things that people like with him is kind of like what some people like with Trump. They're like, yo, you say it, I won't say it because I don't want to get in trouble or getting canceled. Yeah. But I'm going to tune into you saying it and I'm going to give you the attention for you saying it.
Right. And Trump is a perfect example.
I think.
And look where Trump is now. Raided by the feds.
Yeah.
Tons of lawsuits.
What do you think is going to happen with Trump?
I don't know.
Hey, listen,
I don't know.
Vlad,
it's hard to say. Hopefully he's not going to become president again. But
Vlad,
look at how many people...
I'm definitely voting for Trump next time.
Wait, you're voting for Trump?
What? Yes, I'm definitely voting for Trump. 100%.
You're voting for Trump.
Listen, I'm going to be honest.
You're disappointing me right now.
No. The reason why is that if he's the only other candidate and I got to tolerate 4 more years of Biden, we're not doing it. Unfortunately, we live in a country where it's a two-party system.
Or maybe Kamala Harris will end up running for president because,
she'll do that now.
I mean, you know, Biden can't even put on his own jacket anymore. It was
but
he's shaking people's hands who aren't there. I mean, he's old and old.
Vlad, I'm one of those people where like I don't gotta agree with everything you do or your thoughts and everything. I don't think we'll ever do that with any other human being. But I'm simply looking at life under 2 presidents, and this motherfucker looks senile, and I think that we need him out of there. For somebody else, and also I think what's happened to me in the last like 2-3 years is that I've realized that I'm neither a Democrat nor a Republican because I have ideals on both sides of the fence that I weigh differently at different times. And a lot of it is influenced by the media. But listen, I'm very socially aware of certain things that, you know, might affect people that have the same pigmentation of the skin like me. But also, I don't want a president who literally gonna have us. Well, forget the lockdown part. Like, literally, if you think about the stock market, everything's down.
Yeah, I know.
Price of oil is up. Like this guy's doing nothing right.
Well,
he can't.
But there's also a war in Russia going on.
Hold on, but this motherfucker
Ukraine
can't even
going on right now.
Yeah, but come on, now this motherfucker can't.
You gonna tell me that's not a big part of it?
Yeah, but I think.
And the fact that
I'm blaming him that we're even at this point. I think another president maneuvers around us.
Right, but the whole thing is
the motherfucker can't even get back Brittany Griner, man. Like, come on, man. That's the easiest.
No, they're actually in negotiation right now.
Bruh, come on, man. They're actually in negotiation.
They're gonna give him the Merchant of Death. And they're going to get Brittany Griner.
No, they came back and said they want 2 people now. They're realizing Biden's like a hoe. That's one of the things. First of all, a president's a figurehead, clearly. You know, obviously the majority of laws, you know, get passed between the House and the Senate and a lot of committees in between. So it's not like if this guy's the president, that's what's going to be happening in the world. They do have some type of power and influence, but the figurehead of this world I'm not saying you got to be able to ride a bike, but Jesus Christ, you got to be able to press the brake. You get me? You got to be able to not repeat this line. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's too senile for the job, man. You know, Barack was obviously, you know, amazing.
Yeah.
And at this point, like, shit, if we could swap out this fool for even Hillary, I'll take it. Like, anybody.
Well, we both interviewed Charleston White.
Yeah.
When he made Soulja Boy, that was definitely, I feel like a turning point.
Yo, I really think that Charleston White is a Boondocks character. Like literally, like he's
granddad.
Man, he's built for the Boondocks. Like the way. By the way, I've said there's few people who I think could seamlessly transition to comedy, and one of the aspirations of mine is that eventually I do want to try my hand at comedy.
Yeah, me too.
Because when I really get in my bag, I'm like, damn, I feel like I'm killing it. But, it's very different than talking to the screen or just like us talking here and it's funny and it translating in a live audience. I think Charleston White, I think he's a comedian. I think he's a natural born comedian, man.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I've interviewed him twice now, I think. Was it twice? Yeah, I think it was twice. And some of the stuff that he says on other platforms.
You probably disagree with, right?
Was like, I think you talk about raping white women or something and like spitting on Asian people. Like, some of the stuff
I asked him about that. He said it was not true. He said, which this
I saw the video.
Okay.
It is true.
Well, no. Well, he said he did say it.
Yeah.
But he said it's not an actual thing that happened. And for him, and it was so interesting. That's why I say Boondocks character. He says, what I learned to do, he basically says he's doing, in a sense, what I did with Warren Chirac. He said, this is a character. He says he's using satire. He says he used to go into the schools. He's a reformed person from jail, right, from prison. He used to go into schools trying to spread a message, but he realized it was ineffective unless he spoke like the people and also was able to gain the attention of the people. So he completely 100% admits he says things for shock value, but he hopes to, to use one of Charlamagne's phrases, putting the medicine in the candy. And I think that's super interesting because he gets a lot of attention. And at times, I'm not saying all the time, like when he says, King Von should die, I completely disagree with that.
Yeah,
I think he's
too.
wilding. But sometimes when he talks about the effects of whether it's music or sometimes, homes without proper parenting and how that evolves into people ending up in a penal system, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. So he brings a lot of sense and bullshit together. And I think the bullshit is to entertain, I hope. But then when you see the shit with Soulja Boy, you're like.
I mean, the amazing thing, what's funny is that I just interviewed Mob James, who got into it with Charleston White.
Oh, he got maced too?
No, he didn't get maced.
Oh,
no.
shit.
No. They got he got in his face.
Oh,
he basically confronted him, was like, yo, do you want it? And he had a pistol on him. Charleston White, there was a pistol around, but he was like, yo, if you want it, like we could fight right here. They ultimately didn't fight, but it was a confrontation. He even thought that the whole macing of Soulja Boy was funny, and also he felt it was the correct thing to do.
What was he supposed to do?
Yeah, I agree.
I don't deal with him, but you got 12 men coming at you, ready to do great bodily harm to you. Yeah. So, is it gangster to sit there and get your ass whooped? No. I'm gonna do whatever I can. And the crazy part is he had mace, not a gun.
Right.
So, just think if he had a gun, the situation would have been totally different.
I never knew mace would be that effective.
Oh, yeah.
Against 10 motherfuckers?
Yeah, he just. Well, I mean, look. Regardless of what Soulja Boy's intentions was, he rolled up on him like 10 deep.
That's the first time I've ever heard Soulja Boy not get the better side of like the internet narrative.
No, remember Soulja Boy in the hood? He's like, get the fuck up out of here. Like that whole thing.
No, I get you with that, but it's like, the internet narrative. The internet narrative. It's all about narratives now. You got to remember.
Okay.
Like Soulja Boy, I think he's the master of like crafting narratives. Like he came on your platform, he was like, I was like, pow, pow, pow.
Right.
That shit was creating that narrative gave him the name and the persona of Big fucking Draco. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like it's all about who could really craft these narratives, and to see Charleston White like do some shit, I'm like, yo, if I'm him, I take this as my one like get out of jail free pass, and I start moving different. Ironically, I'm in Miami. That's how we got that interview done the day after that happened. So the next day, I got to go to Rolling Loud, and I'm driving to Rolling Loud, and I see this guy walking down. I'm like, that looked like Charleston White by himself, and he's just walking down Collins Ave or whatever, Miami, by himself. People walking up to him, and he like, and I'm looking at him like, you do know you have a little popularity and name. You talk a lot of shit too. Like, you won't catch me doing that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People always say, yo, I don't come outside. I do come outside. I'm just not where you're at. You know what I mean? Like, people only will give you the credit of you coming outside when you're getting beat up, robbed. Vlad, they probably say something about you. It's the same, like, yo, Vlad don't go nowhere. You probably go anywhere you want to go.
Right.
But if they can't get the satisfaction of you getting jumped, beat up, slapped in the club, they're going to be like, you don't come outside. Now the dummy's going to try to prove it to them. Me, you ain't catching me like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, there was what I felt was a credible threat to Charleston White.
Yeah.
You roll up with 10 people.
10 people, yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen. Soulja Boy may not be the one to do it, but his little homie who's trying to get on might go and punch you in the face or slap you or whatever else. This is an older man with one eye, essentially, who, if he falls, he could die.
Yeah.
And the fact that he pulled out some mace as opposed to a gun and was able to basically get rid of all those dudes and then walk away or run away, whatever it is.
Fuck that. That's the moment I realized that Charleston White might actually be about it. Because he talks a lot of shit. You know why I know that? Because I'm going to keep it 100 with you. 10 niggas, and he says he's with no one. Man, I'm hitting the dash, okay? I don't care what niggas say about me. Listen, you're going to catch me on a good run. I'm Jamaican. You say Boken. I'm out of there. You get me? The mere fact he stood in the paint and just grabbed the mace and said, when they get within 6 feet, I'm fucking hitting all of them, knowing that maybe he could have missed one and they grabbed, if they caught him, they're beating him to a bloody pulp.
Yeah.
10 dudes who are probably, Charleston White is like a skinny dude who probably weighs 123. You know what I mean? Like, if they all catch him, they're beating his ass. I'm running. So the moment he didn't run, I'm like, either he's been in these confrontations a lot.
Well, he was in prison for like 30 years or something.
Exactly.
I mean, people forget that he was in prison for a murder.
Yeah.
He was involved in a murder. He wasn't there for like, speeding tickets. Like, he was there for a serious charge. So half his life was spent in prison learning how to survive. So at the end of the day, there are no rules. And had he shot Soulja Boy, he'd be back in prison again. But he made Soulja Boy, and he was able to just walk away from it.
It depends. What? It depends, because if it goes down how he said it goes down, somebody's clutching onto a gun. The baby shot somebody up in the surveillance footage leak.
Yeah, at his house.
No, he shot
you're talking
multiple.
about the Walmart. At the Walmart?
No, he shot somebody again.
The
baby been on shooting spree.
Yeah.
Like, he shot somebody in Miami, and he was explaining to the cops. He said,
"Yeah, I remember. Yeah, the footage. Yeah.
So, and that basically was like, I felt like they were going to kill me. They were about to run me over. That's the only option I had left was shooting this gun. Which, by the way, there were no charges on that. Which, I'm gonna be honest with you, Florida's a stand your ground state, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's also from Texas, another stand your ground state.
Right.
People like that, I think unfortunately, he's prepared that it might go that way one day. Otherwise, he should get scared. Scared.
But look, Charleston White actually handled his business.
Yeah.
And listen, Soulja Boy, I don't know if you remember, he did this whole rant. Like, he talked shit about me, say cheese, and no jumpers. Hey, stop fucking talking about me. I'll pull up on y'all. I'll fuck y'all.
Wait, what's I do, though? Like,
I don't fucking know. I have no idea. Soulja Boy ain't pulling up on nothing. Fuck out of here. Like, seriously.
I think he was, he's still upset at you that you interviewed the dudes.
Yeah, you know something? And I'm done trying to justify that shit. I offered to have a conversation with him. He didn't want to have that conversation. Fuck it. It is what it is. I did what I did. You talk about shooting somebody. That dude wanted to tell us out of the story, and I gave him a fucking platform. If you don't like a Soulja Boy, so fucking what?
Yo, did those guys say something opposite of what he said?
I mean, they said they smacked him. He smacked him a couple times before he got shot, but he still got shot.
So who's the guy who died?
Nobody died.
What?
Yeah, nobody died.
Okay, maybe that's why. Because I ain't gonna lie, the story sounded a lot better when he clapped 5 of them in the story. Right. I ain't gonna lie, you know what I mean?
No, nobody died. And the dude got shot in the ass, I think. And
he's living.
Yes, I interviewed him.
Like he's breathing.
Yes, I didn't interview a corpse. But yeah, man, I'm done pacifying Soulja Boy. It is what it fucking is. If Soulja Boy don't like me, he don't like me. He could talk all the shit about me he wants. I'm not going to do any different. If I want to report on Soulja Boy, I'm going to report on Soulja Boy. Just like when Young Blue was like, stop posting me. I'm like, nope. And when Young Blue...
I got to get y'all on the phone. Have y'all talked?
No, we got on the phone.
Y'all did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, no. Young Blue... The thing with Young Blue was that when he went online, he was trying to say that, like, I'm like a white man trying to get 2 black friends to fight each other for my own amusement.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. As a white man, you got what you want, Vlad. Me and Boosie was cool until you started doing all them interviews about him. And I'm just like, okay, fuck this shit. I just had a fuck this shit moment. I said, first and foremost, let me break down how this whole thing happened. And I did a whole series of tweets, which I think you posted. I said, look, you know, when I did my first interview with Young Blue, that was his first interview ever in life. Like, go on YouTube and you will not find a Young Blue interview before my interview with him. Boosie walked him in and said, I just signed a new artist. Can you please interview him as a favor to me, even though he's not really. And, you know, when we talk, he's like, no, but I was kind of, you know, I was already, you know, popping a little bit. I'm like, you were not popping at the level of VladTV at that point, and you know it.
Oh, shit.
And you know it.
You have to let him know.
That was a favor that Boosie came in. You know, you had a couple songs that were, you know, doing okay, but you were not at the Boosie level of getting an interview. I did that as a favor to Boosie, and you know that's true. You know, and he's like, no, I feel you. I did his first ever interview as a favor. Later on, when we did another interview like 2 years later, and in that interview, Young Blue said, I'm signed to Boosie.
Yeah.
You know, he talked about signing paperwork and everything else like that. Talking about he, you know, DM Boosie to try to get signed, and things happened with Boosie's brother, and he got signed, you know, through Boosie. A couple years later, when he did another interview, he said, I'm not technically signed to Boosie.
I'm not technically signed to Boosie. I'm just signed to him, like, just because, like, we just tied in, you feel? We tied in. Like I said, he let me sign my other deal, you know what I'm saying? He let me go to sign my new deal, you feel me? I just, you know what I'm saying? I just let him keep what was in the contract. Like, however many albums and stuff, like, was in the contract, like, I still honored that, you feel me? It was just like, bro, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna still do this, you know what I'm saying? Do this for you if you let me go type shit.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is where the problem started. This is where Boosie got upset. It wasn't about me, whatever. I'm like, yo, how things going? Like, all my things, like, yo, how things going with you and Boosie? No, I'm not technically signed. This is after you got the Drake feature and everything else like that. You know, you fast forward another year or so, and he's doing interviews with you, talking about, I got a $9 million deal on the table.
Yeah.
And this is what's causing the friction. And I'm like, this is what's causing the problems. It's not me interviewing Boosie and asking about it, is the fact that Boosie's not getting the money that he's expecting he feels that he deserves. Now, Young Blue called me and was like, yo, man, I want to talk to you. And I'm like, once again, we can have a conversation if it's respectful, if no one's recording. He's like, no, it's cool. And we had an hour and a half conversation on the phone where he basically told me like his point of view and everything else like that. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but my answer to him was like, you and Boosie just have to go and work it out.
Yeah, I think
whatever paperwork is there, whether y'all work it out in person, through mediation, or in court. What's that?
I think it's a legal matter now.
It's now a legal matter because, you know, like you and I talked, like no one has. I took
a piece out of my interview at his request. He said, yo, it's a legal matter. And he was explaining, because I was getting into it and I was citing your videos, you know, with, you know, Boosie talking about it and also him saying he was signing. So I said, make this make sense to me. And he kind of gave some more details to his side. However, ultimately, you know, after he left, he said, hey, you know, it's probably not smart that I'm speaking on that at the moment, consider it's a legal matter. Whenever it's all cleared up, we could probably talk about it then.
Right.
And I could have been like, nah, I ain't taking shit out. But I'm not that type of guy when it comes to artists. I'd rather just keep the relationship. It's like 13 minutes a clip. Took it out.
Me too.
And but you're right. But here's the funny thing about this. And this is my whole takeaway from the whole thing. Because what we're seeing with Boosie and Young Blue is essentially the same thing we're seeing with Mace and Fabio Foreign.
Yeah.
You have an artist who signs very early to someone else, right? Another artist. And essentially, when they get on, they now have a different perspective of how that artist helped put them on, okay? You know, they're looking at it like, well, you didn't do much for me. So anything I give you, you should be appreciating. Right. Now, that's not how a contract works.
No, contract works by whatever you sign.
Yeah. If I sign you, and even if I never booked a studio session, as long as contractually I fulfill my obligations, which sometimes it just won't be any, it just be like, hey, listen, I'm going to use my brand to promote you, whatever the case is. I'm owed this amount of money technically. Yeah. Now, a lot of these artists, what I've seen, even I just recently did an interview with Jackboy. Jackboy, he said, yo, I offered Kodak $3 $300,000, when he got out of jail as compensation for some of the deals, bigger deals that I signed while he wasn't here. And Kodak kept saying the $1 million number. He kept saying he owes me $1 million. Now, I think some of these artists, and I remember salute to my guy Wayne, I used to do Everyday Struggle with him. He always said this to me. He said, "Act, let me tell you, this is about artists and money. An artist is like, he's like, this happens with artists and managers, but it happens with an artist and a label or an artist and the big homie from the hood who gave him $50,000 to start them off, right?
Mm-hmm.
An artist is down to split, if it's an 80-20 split, because the managers get 20%. If they get $100, they give the manager $20. Let them get a $10 million check. They will never give up $2 million.
Right.
They're going to cap what they feel that manager's worth.
Exactly.
Yo, you really only should get like 80 grand.
Yeah, they'll
Like,
start
the
talking
rest
about
is-
all the shit they didn't do,
Yeah, it's
and all
gonna
the
be
shit
like,
they did
yo-
themselves. But
Yeah, it'd be like, yo, in reality, like, I'm the one who did this to get it to this level, but that's not how shit works.
right.
Now, if you wanted to work like that, you should already be trying to get out of that situation the moment you realize that person isn't no longer of help to you.
Yeah.
But then again, the person don't gotta sign off on getting you out of the deal.
Right. I mean, when Fivio said that he signed to Mace for $5,000, I didn't see a problem with that, because if you're a completely unknown artist and multi-platinum Mace comes around and said, "Hey, I just see the raw talent, and here's $5,000, but I'm gonna maneuver for you, and we're gonna try to get a
That's
bigger
what it is.
deal." What's the problem?
Well, in
And,
hip hop,
and Mace said that later on it was a $750,000 contract or whatever else. But like clearly all the money that Fivio has made over the years has been, it's not like that $5,000 is all he got and 100% of everything has been going to Mace ever since. No, at the time, it's not the Fivio of 2022. It's the Fivio of some dude in Brooklyn who no one has heard of. And this dude saw something in you. Had Mace not come in at that time, Fivio could be working at, a regular job.
hey, by the way, I have an experience with that situation, right?
Okay.
So I had a joint venture label where I could sign artists. I still can sign artists, but I just like dealing with artists is too much. And I make too much money just not dealing with them. So I even, deal with a bunch of divas, right? But anyway, I was trying to look into sign a couple of artists, and I remember at the time Fivio was popping, Big Drip's going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't really been picked up by anything yet. I hit my lawyer and I say, yo, I want to sign this guy. Now, I said, yo, we got to probably reach out and get some meetings. And I guess my lawyer knew someone who was a direct contact to his lawyer, and they got in touch. Now, granted, I had no idea Mace was in the situation. So they came back and they said, well, he does have a situation with Mace. And I'm like, well, is he still looking for a deal? It was like, yes, he still is looking for a deal. Now, I remember we bowed out of the, even the conversation. I didn't even meet with him. Just off the fact that his lawyer came back and said, they're not taking nothing under, like, Mason won't take nothing under $1 million. I was thinking, like, I don't know, maybe I could have, if he wanted like $500,000, I could have done it. But like, I think that's where Mace's value comes in, right? Mace being attached to the situation got him the deal. We get to find out later is $1.5 million from Columbia. I don't think he gets that deal without Mace. Now, do I think he gets a deal? Absolutely. The song's hot. Yeah. But is it that value? No. Here's the problem that happens, right? So he signs that deal, right? And again, I keep making this analogy. The 20% thing, you'll give somebody $20 out of $100. You don't want to give nobody $2 million out of $10 million. The $1.5 million gets broken down evenly amongst the production company, which is Mace, and the rest goes to Fivio.
Oh, so that's what $750,000.
Yes, that comes from Columbia.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Mace is probably thinking like, well, damn, this nigga just turned his $5,000 into, $750,000.
Yeah.
But here's a problem where it's gonna eventually come up. Fivio, some people thought it was gonna fall off, didn't. Gotten hotter and hotter. He's probably almost at the time to re-up for another deal. Probably could get, I don't know, $4-5 million. Mace already got, Mace only put in $5,000. So this is how an artist look at it. You only put in $5,000 in this fucking, you only put in $5,000 for this week. You got $750,000 already. Now I'm about to go get a $5 million check. You're not about to get $2.5 million out of that. That's why there's some contention. But in reality, that contract says it's a 50-50 deal, and there's probably a letter of direction to the label that says, don't you pay me directly, that I don't got to wait for him.
Right.
You get me? Yeah. So now, Fabio signs the deal for $5 million, but he ain't seen nothing but 2.5. After a while, you start feeling resentful because you start thinking, this guy hasn't shown up to a studio session. All he does is I send my records to him, he signs off on it, and it goes to Columbia. Why is he getting millions? But that's how the record industry works.
That's the deal you signed. And that's the deal you signed. And at the end of the day, eventually, if you continue to stay in the music industry, deals will expire and you can sign a new deal. And the deal probably doesn't include show money. The deal may or may not include features that you get paid for. Like, at the end of the day, you have a career now. And listen, to be fair, I've dealt with Mace and so forth. Not an easy person to deal with.
Really?
It's one of the most difficult people I've ever dealt with, period. And everyone I talk to tells me a very similar story. Everyone I talk to. Mace makes promises and does not fulfill what he tells you, right? And I'm not going to go into detail. Mace, if you're watching this, you know what I'm talking about. So I know there's a certain level of animosity based on probably things that Mace told him that he probably didn't carry through and so forth.
True.
But regardless of how you look at it, you sign a contract at a time that you were just starting off, and that contract has to be fulfilled until the end of that contract. Hopefully you'll have a career that will outlast that contract and you will go on to make a lot of money. But at the end of the day, people like to feel like they did it all themselves, and that's not always true. It's not always true, especially when you're a brand new artist that has no fan base, has no songs, has no following, has no nothing. You're just starting off. And this is really the way that the music industry works. If you really think about it, like, look at what Megan is going through with her label.
Yeah.
She don't want to pay them what they feel they're owed. And she tries to get around it and whatever else. And so they're going through this whole legal wrangling and stuff like that. But they're the only ones that believed in her when she was nobody at the time.
Vlad, we got to just shoot it straight for all these motherfuckers who are delusional to what the music industry is. The music industry, like, if you don't want to have these problems, stay independent.
Stay independent. And the reality
own
is
your shit
that,
and invest in yourself.
Right. And the music industry has like a 90% failure rate. It's one of the worst businesses to be in.
That's the point.
Anyone who signed, I was at SRC Records. You know how many artists they invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in that didn't sell any records? I'm not going to name the names, but you can look it up.
Yeah, but this is why, and I remember, right? I'm talking to this big executive who, he was kind of instrumental in me getting my situation. And he said, because I told him, like, yo, man, I tried to sign these two dudes. Like, I'm like, this is too much headache. He said, yo, listen, just sign anybody. This is what he told me, literally. Just sign anybody. And I said, what you mean? He said, listen, this is how we look at things in the music business. One successful artist pays for the other 9 failures.
Exactly.
And the moment, and the successful artists we're seeing complain, they don't realize that $750,000 that Mace got is probably making him whole for other people he's invested in that just didn't pan out to shit. He gave you $5,000 and gave 10 other dudes $5,000.
Right.
Right? And then he had to give them studio time, and then he had to give them that. And then half them dudes, they turned out to nothing.
90% of them dudes turn out to nothing.
So
it's the hardest business to be in. Everyone's like, why doesn't Vlad start a record label? You got this big platform, rah, rah, rah. Motherfuckers, I know what it's like to start a record label. I've seen it time and time again. Shout out to people like Ghazi that have somehow figured things out a little bit more than other people. But most labels, like, yo, you're going to lose. And are the people that you've invested $100,000 into that have made you zero, are they talking about how they got ripped off?
Yeah.
Are they talking about, hey, listen, I feel so bad about all the money that I've lost you that I'm going to pay you back? Has anyone ever said that? Has any artist ever paid back a label for their losses when they didn't sell albums? No, they'll blame the label for them not selling albums.
I put about like 70,000 in artists. You know what I mean? Nothing turned out.
You put 70,000 into an artist.
Yeah, well, not me personally. Obviously, I had a budget. Come on, I'm not putting my own fucking money. Y'all believe in these niggas, man? Come on, man. But obviously, I had a budget, right? And I think artists look at money like that generally as, well, if it don't work, it's not like I owe you the money. Like, there's actually things called like profit statements, and
Yeah.
Labels got to recoup and all that type of shit.
Exactly.
But nobody cares. Everybody looks at like it's just money out of thin air and you write it off. But in reality, like that's money lost. You know what I mean? Out of a budget that I had to
tax
manage.
write-off does not mean free money by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. So no, artists never get that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we see the successful artists, they're having that argument constantly. And it's really because, even the argument that, and Five is my guy, but I don't even know why Mace was defending this so much. You know why he is though? Because people used to hear about these big advances. Yo, this guy got signed for $1 million. So when you hear 5,000, it sounds like somebody ripped you off.
Right.
5,000 sounds like a ripoff only because you're hearing that, oh, this guy signed this gigantic deal. No, like, yo, Lil Pump signed for $30,000. You know what I mean? Like, and was he worth more at the time? No. He was worth exactly that because they were taking a roll on the die. That's what it is.
That's it.
You know what I mean? And this is the music business. At the end of the day, when these guys are getting all the money, great. But when later on you got to go in debt to, try to finance or market their projects, and if it don't work, it don't work. It's like the music industry is the only thing that you're investing millions in, and it's literally a gamble. That's why you see all these labels. They're trying to control everything. They put a lot of money towards radio because they want control. They put a lot of money towards streaming service because they want control. Like, think about a business where you're putting in billions of dollars and you're like, I hope this goes well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like if you think about any other business, whether it's like Apple know how many iPhones. Like, all right, we got like it's.
Yeah. Look at our business, right? I could tell you, I could sort of ballpark how many views this interview is going to get.
Yeah.
Before I even did the interview, I'm like, okay, if I ask these types of questions and I roll it out a certain type of way, it'll get this many million views. And if I invest this amount of money into it, is there an appearance fee? Is there not? Is there other people involved? Is there a studio? Whatever. Okay, cool. I'm doing the math in my head.
Regular business shit.
Regular business shit, right? And I know for a fact if I get a certain type of person to sit in that chair, I know about how many views and how much money will be made, period. Music doesn't work that way.
You give somebody $250,000, they get shot the next week, you don't get that shit back.
Well, I mean, not even anything that drastic. Like, if you have an artist and you get a Lil Baby feature, and it costs you $500,000, let's say. I don't know how much he charges. Well,
definitely costs.
So about that much, right? So I'm just guessing. Okay, so you pay $500,000 for that Lil Baby feature. There's a reasonable chance that song will do nothing.
Yeah.
Yes, a few of the Lil Baby fans will listen to it just for the first time, but if it's not a good song, whatever that means, like for example, like Stunner for Vegas, like we just interviewed him, and his new album, which I thought is a good album, is just not getting the views that his first album got. Yeah. And he's got the features. He's got like Offset on it. He's got The Baby on it. And I'm looking at the views, and none of them are like multi-million view songs. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And I know now maybe it was something to do with the label didn't do the marketing push behind it or whatever. But I'm like, yo, this is the same guy that was getting 10 million views a couple of years ago. But for whatever reason, even though everything looks right on paper, this producer, this feature, this affiliation, you can't predict it.
You try to control every variable, and you still be like, okay, well, I'm checking the box, got all the features.
You still can't predict it. And it's essentially almost 100% loss.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. What you think Offset gonna give his feature money back? Because it didn't do the numbers it was supposed to get? If there was feature money, I don't know if there is or not. I'm just guessing. But let's just say that an Offset feature costs $50,000 because that's the homie price.
Yeah.
He's not gonna give that back.
By the way, that's why, I've through that process and just other shit I was just seeing behind the scenes, I've gained even a lot of respect for like somebody like Birdman, to be a record executive that dominated the industry, always having some of the hottest rappers, having a system that seemingly was just always replenishing itself. Mm-hmm. That's not really normal. You know what I mean? Like that is so much out the ordinary. It's like, think about it. Like, Jay-Z basically gave up on the record label business. He's just doing the things around it. If y'all niggas want management, I got y'all. Okay? So which means you already need to be making money. You got an interview to go get for Rock Nation to pick you up as a client. Yeah. You don't just be like, yo, Rock Nation come fuck with us. No, you know what they're going to look at? Well, he's grossing and he's bringing about like $6-7 million a year We're going to get our cut.
Yeah.
We're going to put him in these situations. We're going to get him to 10. Now we're making $3 million off of this guy.
Boom.
This is a
Done.
win. Easy cash.
Yeah.
We're not gambling no more, okay?
Right.
Sign up a bunch of people and be like, yo, well, we're going to develop them for 2 years, get their look right, start seeing them on the blog, start doing this, putting them in this studio.
Right. But there's also a lot of luck involved in these conversations. Like, because I remember I had a conversation, about Birdman recently with one of my guys who had been working, around him for the last 20 years. And he was like, look, like, you can't discount how much luck happened in the very beginning where he got Lil Wayne.
True.
You see what I'm saying?
No, of course.
You got this kid who's
like Phil Jackson, man.
13 years old or whatever else, who went on to blossom, and he starts bringing in Drake. He's bringing in Nicki Minaj. He's bringing in Tiger. Like, and you're the umbrella over all this. Like, that wasn't intended by Birdman. There was a high degree of luck how that came together.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
100%.
And because of that allowed sort of a snowball where, everyone wants to be affiliated with Wayne, and well, you got to sign under Cash Money if you fucking with Wayne, and then boom,
the Young Money comes underneath it.
Going. Yeah, the Young Money thing and so forth. That's still shit. There was a Young Money reunion recently in Toronto that fucking sold out. But the luck, had Lil Wayne. Let's just take Lil Wayne out of the equation.
Yeah.
There's a reasonable chance that Cash Money would have been that label that was around 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Hey, by the way, and I think this is why people always are just enamored with just the possibility of really lucking up like that, because the money that is in getting successful artists is different. Like, QC probably last year turned over $100 million. Now, is it all profit? No. But to gross that is crazy. You get what I mean? So it's like, once you hit, you're hitting big, right?
Yeah, and it grows, it's a snowball. It grows upon itself. Everyone wants to be affiliated with the successful label. Everyone wants to be on the label with that certain artist. And that artist will start bringing in people under that umbrella. Like, I get it. Like, Death Row was doing it back in the day. How many people... Think about it. When Tupac was on there, Jodeci was showing her. Mary J. Blige was coming. DJ Quick was coming around. Like, everyone was fucking with Death Row. MC Hammer was coming around. Like, everyone wanted to be part of that whole thing because there was so much energy. Because I want to be part. I want to be down with Snoop. Like, it all comes with it. Like, Blueface and so forth. Like, people want to be associated with the label that Lil Wayne blew up on. You take that away, you don't know what you have. There's a lot of labels that were hot to death that just are not around anymore. I saw SRC Records shut down while I was there.
Hold on, but they might still be around in the sense of they still getting paid. They're out of the business of investing new capital into artists. Yeah,
it's a catalog label at this point.
It was interesting.
But even that starts to go down year after year.
Shit, did you see Irv Gotti? He's on Drink Champs, and he was basically saying, man, I ain't about to give a shot to your fucking masters back.
Right.
How my kids gonna eat? Right. And it's one of those interesting things where, like, that's the crazy thing about.
But they discovered Ashanti, right?
Yeah.
Ashanti was nobody at the time. Everyone likes to. Man, I realize that when it comes to this internet shit, nobody cares about the facts. People would go with whoever they like,
and they always like the artist more than everybody else.
Exactly.
That's why artists, when they try to campaign. That's why I know things between Fabio and Mace ain't that bad, and even between Young Blue and Boosie ain't that bad yet. Once shit get bad, you always see the same situations. Yo, I'm not putting out no records. You know what I mean? Let's start blaming the label. They're calling them out publicly. We obviously seen Meek start doing that with Atlantic, right? We see Uzi was going through that with Generation Now for a second, right? Where he was holding his music hostage. Once an artist is putting out music, trust me, it ain't that bad yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Artists are the most selfish motherfuckers on planet Earth.
Yeah.
They look at $1 million and they think they should have all the chains, Rolls Royces, Bugattis, mansions, and everybody should be just all living in a one-bedroom shack, even though those people put up their last dime to find them. Artists are the most selfish people in the world.
Yeah, shout out to DJ Drama. Me and him had this beef that had gone on for some years. We finally got on DM with each other and we finally worked it all out. This is why you haven't seen any of what's the name of his label? New Generation.
Generation Now.
Generation Now. This is why you haven't seen any of those artists on Vlad TV, because me and him had a
I'm trying to get Jack Harlow on, man.
Who?
Jack Harlow. That guy's a star.
Yeah.
That little white boy, I got a
absolutely.
star, man.
Absolutely, yeah. Me and Drama went through our thing, but we finally got on DM and we finally worked shit out. Like, man, so you may in the future see some artists on there.
Oh shit.
But yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, Uzi was bashing Drama for saying, "Oh, I can't put out my music."
Yeah,
you know, there's more to that story. Now
money.
you don't say that anymore.
Hey, you know what? On a very, very simple level, people told me that thing was. They said the moment that Uzi seen how much EXO Tour Life made for the label and how much he got, shit was never the same.
Yeah.
That's it. I always tell people, you see when you run a big company sometimes, you got to limit the information certain people see. You know what? The moment they see, they're like, wait, they always value themselves either higher or they think they're getting an improper share.
Right.
When you have a disgruntled employee or someone who's an artist, when they know how much money really comes in, they'll never be happy again. Because, for example, I think EXO Tour Life had made like 15 million. I think he got like 3.8. And you could just fucking imagine. He's just like, where the fuck the other $10 million go? And that probably was so unsettling because he probably started to realize that from one song. Where's the other shit? Now, granted, you know, this is coming out of percentages as we were talking about.
Right.
But an artist, they wanted to bend the rules. Like, you know, oh, it's my biggest song, so give me all the money, you guys share like $1 million. Give me 14, you guys share one.
Yeah. Kanye recently declared that Skeet Davidson is dead at age 28.
Yeah.
He also threw in a little jab. Kid Cudi was supposed to officiate the funeral, but he was scared the bottle would be thrown at him. And now Pete Davidson is reportedly in trauma therapy because of this. Now, I just want to say this. Yes, Kanye West was trolling him and making little Marvel movie posters about him and talking a bunch of shit and everything else like that and saying he had AIDS and a whole bunch of made up shit, which was clearly made up. No one really took it seriously. But Pete Davidson texted him a picture of him in bed with Kim.
Okay. I was wondering where you're going with this, Vlad. Yeah, there we go.
This is the same Pete Davidson that when he was dating Ariana Grande started texting all this foul shit to Mac Miller. And then ultimately Mac Miller ended up overdosing and died. You know,
I remember that.
I mistakenly tweeted that he had committed suicide, which, you know, when someone overdoses and dies young in life after going through a bunch of hard shit and everything else like that, was it an overdose or was it suicide? It's always a very gray area between that. But the whole thing was that Ariana Grande literally cut things off with Pete over him doing that shit, over him basically sending out venomous things to someone's ex. You see what I'm saying? Did that contribute to Mac Miller dying? I think that's a reasonable expectation. Possibly. Yo, this dude's fucking my woman and he's telling me all this foul shit.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to just take some drugs to try to deal with it and fuck, I died. You know what I'm saying? So the whole trauma therapy thing was kind of like, come on, man.
That's just cap, man. Oh, that's just cap. Hey, you know what's so funny about that? I don't even look at the Pete Davidson angle. I've never been really a fan of his. Like, yo, he's never been that humorous to me. I think SNL is also a platform that, you know, like, I don't think the real funny motherfuckers on SNL anyway.
Agreed.
You know, but it's very, you know, historically, it's seen as like it has a lot of prestige. Mm-hmm. You know, he's one of those guys that people always gave the up next category or like tag on. In reality, I've never seen the appeal about him. When he got with Kim, I thought it was more of a reflection of Kim than him. I'm gonna keep it real with you. If I'm him, some young comedian of SNL, super tatted up, like, to keep it real, you just got with Ariana Grande, now Kim Kardashian wants you. Like, I would have probably acted a fool too. I would have checked Kanye 20 times, you know what I mean? So I would have acted a fool. I don't feel bad for him either.
Yeah.
I look at this, and I've always looked at situations like this, that it's not that he did these things without Kim agreeing. Like, in the sense of, you know, when he took that picture, you're right there. You're allowing him to make you even be seen a certain light.
Well, I mean, Kim wasn't in that picture.
I know she's not in the picture, but
he said, I'm in bed with your wife.
Yeah, but I'm here with
your
wife in your bed, the woman you got 4 kids with.
Yeah.
And this is where there's always dudes like Pete Davidson. Always.
Yeah.
There's always a dude who's a rebound dude that when a woman is in a situation with a guy who knows what went wrong, she runs to that dude. And I just think it's detrimental, whether it's a woman or a man doing it, when you have kids with someone where you do things that you can't just wipe away. They had a 9-month relationship, reasonably short in the grand scheme of things. The damage and some of those public things you put out, you were that nigga's wife. Like Kim K is his wife.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, what I thought was foul, and I really put this more on Kim than anyone else.
You gotta put it on Kim. Yo, Pete holds no response. He's just in there getting a nut.
Right.
Everybody here has been either the side dude or the rebound dude. And you know what you always say to yourself? You got to keep yourself grounded. Man, I'm just getting the pussy. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Who looks bad is Kim. Because now your kids, you brought your kids around this motherfucker.
And that's what I was about to say. How in the fuck you gonna let Northwest sit on this man's lap when you've only been with him for a couple of months? Like, that right there was so fucking foul.
Well, now you block their daddy from showing up to their birthday parties because he might be there, and this is a relatively new relationship. Now it's over. Yeah. Now, how do you repair that? Now, if I'm Kanye, I remember when Kanye just got with Kim. Man, Kanye was talking about Kim like Kim was the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
Like, he loved her so much. Like, and I've always said, like, recently I said, listen, what we realized, one man's queen is another man's smut. And until you see how somebody treats someone like that, it ruins that in your mind. And now they have to co-parent. Who knows if they get back together? But they got to co-parent with all these things that have happened. Now, granted, of course Kanye was doing some shit, but here's the thing. Kim allowed herself to be seen in a way that I think the kids are going to be affected.
Yep.
The way Kanye treats her is going to be affected.
Yep.
And this is going to be a snowball effect, a domino effect, where there's going to be other women that either Kanye brings in, or now the next dude that get with Kim, he gonna be on the same type of timing. Like, yo, you let Skeet get away with that? Yo, come on. Now, we about to be wilding for real. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you don't see none of Kanye's girlfriends with, like, Saint West, like, on their laps and shit like that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I personally don't think you should bring a man around your kids unless you've been with him for, like, a couple of years. Me personally, unless y'all are actually,
you trying to get the stepdaddy title of that boy.
I mean, but, you know, now you have these men coming in and out of mom's life and, you know, I like the guy. Oh, he's gone now. Oh, shit. Okay. Like, I mean, I've dated women like that used to just, like, our fourth date, meet my kid. And I was like, yo, this is fucked up.
And by the way,
this is fucked up. Like, I don't like this, and I don't like what it's doing to the kid right now. And I don't like that you're actually putting the situation together like that.
I think that was Kim getting back at Kanye for whatever he did. Kanye obviously did some bullshit or was doing some bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kanye is the only person who successfully made her go back to some white penis. That you got to be doing some real devious shit. So I'm not going to knock. I don't think Kanye is an angel. You get me? However, I do believe that while she was trying to, women get back at you in the weirdest ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Kim didn't have to say nothing to Kanye. She was doing it through Skeet.
Yep.
Like, little things behind the scene. Kanye just emotional, so he's going to always react to it. But she was using him to get back at Kanye. Mm-hmm. Now I just think, I don't know how you are when it comes to, dealing with personal situations like that, but like when someone does that, it's hard for me to think of you in the same light again. You know what I mean? Like, now I feel I just have to protect my kids, try to be cordial with you, and anything probably romantically, I think Kanye would be stupid to really get back with her if he ever does.
I mean, it may or may not happen. And look, at the end of the day, you can't say that Kanye is the victim in this whole thing because you're claiming to be this dad and you love your kids, but you go and move to fucking Wyoming and you set up shop over there knowing the kids are going to school. So
yeah, but every genius is never good with family. Every genius I've ever seen, and we look into, like, shit, Elon Musk, you don't hear what his dad say about him? Basically says he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, his Steve dad Jobs impregnated his stepdaughter, who he had raised since 4 years old.
It's weird shit. Steve Jobs, his wife or woman at the time.
Yeah, his first daughter, yeah.
Yeah, and his daughter, they don't fuck with him.
They don't fuck
because,
with him,
usually great men, they sacrifice a lot with family. Like, that's one of the reasons I don't got kids now. Because my life is usually so much dictated by work. Somebody's gonna have to give. And for the great people, in the sense of the ones where I think you probably have like great life balance, where you could just be like, you know what, this is work, this is family.
Yeah.
Some of the geniuses, they don't do that. It's either yo, I'm going to Wyoming or Hawaii just because I have to do it for art. And I don't care if it's your first school dance coming up. I don't care if it's your first football game.
Yeah.
I'm going to just put that off and resentment's going to start to build. So.
Right. And, you know, and it's probably justified with the photo ops. Oh, look, I took my daughter to the Super Bowl. But you're not there every day, you know, actually dealing with her and taking her to school and helping her with her homework and living in the same home with her and everything else like that. The whole, you know, like you look at the Nick Cannon situation with like his, you know, 9, 10 kids. And it's like, oh, I'm just here to, you know, create and whatever, but you got like 6 different baby mothers living in 6 different houses. You're trying to, you're doing photo ops with everybody. You're showing up at like birthdays and you know, whatever, but you're not really there. You're not really being a parent because it's fucking impossible.
And by the way,
too many women.
And by the way, Kim showed us that.
Yeah.
Man, Kim was saying how she was having the time of her life going on ice cream dates. Like, let me tell you, barefoot in the sand.
Let me tell
you
you
know what I mean? She's basically saying, she's like, we're having great time just watching Netflix. Like,
right.
It was some shit that had nothing to do with money, all about to do with time.
Yeah, and it goes both ways, because let me tell you, like, we all live in the same area. Like, I live in Calabasas, and I remember this one time at the, at the pharmacy, I go and see Saint West, right, his son, with a bodyguard and someone who's obviously the nanny. And I'm like, oh, this is strange. The nanny is basically taking this kid on her errands. Whereas, why isn't the kid at home or doing, you know what I mean? So when Kanye is saying like, oh, the nannies is raising the kids, I'm like, oh, I'm actually kind of seeing it right now.
I think that happens in like most celebrity relationships. And by the way, I think most celebrity relationships just live on a different fucking axis. I don't know why it is. Skeet tatted Kim's name in like 3 months. Like, bro, what's going on with that?
Yeah, it's retarded.
You know what I mean? So it's like, maybe there's just a certain level of rich that we can't comprehend, but it never seems to be healthy.
Yeah, you could say there's a certain level of rich, and listen, like when you have a lot of money, yes, you could do that, but it's not going to replace the actual parents being there raising the kids. I grew up in a 2-parent home. My mom and dad were there 100% of the time. Yes, I've had issues with my parents over the years and so forth. Me and my mom don't talk these days and so forth. But I can never say that I was poorly raised. And I didn't know where my mom was or where my dad was. And I'm being raised by nannies and I'm having mommy and daddy issues. Like, they did a fine job when it comes to that. You see what I'm saying?
But to bring back up something that I think, I'm bringing up one particular point. You see, even right now, right? Okay. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but like, say Andrew Tate, right? One of the things he does say is like, essentially, the dude should be the breadwinner and the women should take care of the kids. That's historically how it should be. When you got 2 parents, though, and both of them chasing their own dreams, both trying to be a bigger billionaire than the other, like Kanye put his wife in a group text with Jay-Z and Drake and Kid Cudi and Travis Scott and he said to his wife and all those people, and Jay-Z's in a group text too, I'm richer than all of y'all together.
Right.
Like, are you in competition with your wife? You know, like, it's not a household like that. So I really don't think that in their version of family life that either or would sacrifice business for raising kids. So somebody got to raise them, nannies, bodyguards. You know what I mean? I don't know if grandpa and grandma gets involved like that, but you hope. But that's when you then think about it, like, how do you get that to be a healthy situation? You got 4 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody needs to be there the majority of the time. Somebody has to make that sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you tell Kanye, stop making new Yeezys or stop going to Wyoming? Or do you tell her, hey, chill out with this makeup stuff for a while. Yo, you got to tend to these kids. Like, they're at an age where I know for me growing up, that's so impressionable on you.
Yeah.
Like, my grandmother was there for a lot of things, God rest her soul. She's the person who I've loved the most in life because she was there for me at my most formative years, like helping me, protecting me. Like, I was running to her every single day for whatever issues I was going through as a little boy. Man, these kids are growing up with nannies and shit like that, man. So again, like, how could that really be ever healthy?
Listen, I remember there was a video where, like, I think it was like Paris Fashion Week, where like a bunch of paparazzis were snapping pictures, and it was like, it was Northwest and I think Kim, and like Northwest was like yelling at the paparazzi, "You're all homeless."
Yeah.
And I'm like, where do you think she got that shit from?
Come on, man.
Who do you think talks like that at home? You're all homeless? Like,
and by the way, this is why I have to a certain degree, even though people I think that I hate Jay-Z. No, I have a lot of respect for Jay-Z in certain senses. I think Jay-Z and Beyonce, I think they have made sacrifices to their own career publicly to be able to have a family.
Yeah.
And you think Beyonce couldn't be on world tours every single day?
Right.
You think Beyonce couldn't just like literally be constantly chasing this fleeting, super famous, whatever the case is? And Jay-Z could be like, no, well, I need to keep building a company. What I do see with them is that they've taken a back seat for family.
Yep.
And when you do look at that, I think it's admirable.
Very much
But
so.
not everybody is like that, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Kodak Black got arrested since last time. He's on an ankle monitor.
Yeah.
We actually broke the story when it happened. We'll see what happens. He claims that, the pills were prescribed and so forth. It's a very ugly situation. And you and Kodak know each other?
Yeah, Kodak's my guy.
Really?
Kodak's my guy. Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm supposed to link up with him probably either this week or next week when I go down there.
Yeah, I call it, it's funny, when I interviewed Ari Spears, and a lot of people got upset over this, I said that Kodak Black is the new James Brown. I honestly feel Kodak Black is the new James Brown.
Vlad, somebody should shoot you in the neck with a tranquilizer dart and put a whole bag over your body and escort you in a van to the state line and at gunpoint tell you never bring your ass back here.
You think so?
Yeah. There's some physical similarities between the two, but I think when you look at James Brown, this is someone who is not a traditionally great singer, even though he can sing.
Yeah.
But he's not considered one of the great vocalists like an Usher or a R. Kelly or a Michael Jackson. He kind of grunts and, does his thing through the songs, just like how Kodak is not considered the best traditional rapper, but whatever he does connects to the people in such a way, and it becomes such an emotional bond between the fans and this artist that they just eat up whatever this person does, and they create an impact.
A lot of people try to say ODB, so I'll take that. I think James Brown's just more profound.
Yeah.
No, I agree. One of the things about this new arrest is going to get a little weird is that because he's technically either on probation or parole, when he gets arrested or when he comes in contact with law enforcement, it's not necessarily, he has to get proven guilty. It's basically, it's at the discretion then of the judge if he's violated. And that
when
becomes...
you're on probation, you're technically still in jail.
Yeah.
Technically. Now, you're out and about and so forth, but you don't have the rights that a regular citizen has. You don't need a probable cause. They could go into your house whenever they feel like it. They could search your car without your permission. Yeah, he's on shaky ground when it comes to this type of shit.
One thing I do know, which, you know what I've been thinking about recently? Man, these motherfucking attorneys are getting a bag off these rappers, man. It's crazy that I know all of these rappers' attorneys by first name. You could imagine the retainer that these guys are getting, bro.
$1 million? Could be.
More than that. Listen, the guy Brian Steele, I loved how he did the interview and he said, listen, I'm going to defend Young Thug with every drop of blood I have. He's like, I'm going to defend it to my last drop of blood.
He got one of the top attorneys in Georgia.
You're right. But how much money do you think he's getting out of that? If he don't get $5 million through this whole process, you're crazy.
I mean, look at what YoungBoy, he beat a federal gun case.
Oh, yeah.
Whoosh.
Those, by the way, that's why they did all that photo op afterwards. The prices went up on them.
Prices went up.
Feds.
When Kodak Black criticized the whole YB Better thing, he's like, yo, man, I like the dude's music, but these fans just getting on my fucking nerves. I be eating a hamburger and they're like, YB does a better hamburger than you.
Yo, that dude get annoying though. I'm gonna be honest. Yo, it's interesting. I think Kodak isn't an internet guy, and as young as he is, he doesn't understand the nature of let me dispel the rumors. YoungBoy isn't programming people to do it. It's not his label. It's a bunch of kids who kind of feel like they, YoungBoy has a profound influence on a bunch of kids, like certain type of kids.
Yeah.
They're trolls. That's how they get their attention online.
Right.
And this YB Better thing started to irritate people, and they're gonna keep doing it.
Right.
So.
Oh yeah, Kodak doing it just said, "Oh, we're gonna go harder now." What the fuck?
That's what sometimes like it amazes me that rappers don't know. I remember when Meek one time, like when he was beefing with Drake, and they would call me and they'd be like, "Yo, Drake is paying niggas to put L's under my posts when you post them," and I'm like, "No, he's not.
No, he's not."
This is the internet. Like they will troll you. Like play this every time I post stuff on my page. They comment about my weight. It's a thing. Like you got to understand it's the internet. I've been a product of the internet to have benefited from it. Kodak has benefited from it too. I think it's disingenuous not to understand. They're going to troll you. You get me? There's probably people like fans who troll you like, "Oh, you the cops." Just because it's a thing. They want you to respond. Right. They want you to respond to them on Twitter. "How am I a cop?" And they're going to be like, "Great, now we're going to keep saying a million more times."
A lot of the guys are following me. They're like, "You're the police, you're the feds."
Yes.
And I go to their page to block them,
you.
but I'm like, "But they're following me, so I'll just mute them." You know, I'm like, if you're following me, I'm not going to block you. Because clearly
It's
there's
the
something more to
internet.
this.
Now, granted, this has worked out in YoungBoy's favor because it's nonstop promotion of his music.
Yeah.
But as another artist, the best way to do is ignore it. Like, everybody knows it's annoying. But it's 14-year-old kids.
Yeah.
YoungBoy has one of the youngest fan bases in hip-hop. 14-year-old kids who want to matter and they want to talk about, like, if I post Styles P or Jada Kids just opened up a new juice bar or something, like, they don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about YoungBoy.
Yeah.
So they're going to be like, YB opened juice bars better.
No, listen,
You can't get triggered.
Because we were supposed to interview like YoungBoy's like main engineer type dude. And when they reached out to him to start to put it together, they were like, "Oh no, he didn't want to do it because YoungBoy mad at you about something." And I'm like,
You never talked to YoungBoy?
"Nope."
YoungBoy is a very interesting person.
I'm sure he is.
The greatest rappers I've realized.
I'm sure he is.
Their earth spins on a different axis to the regular
Yeah,
humans.
man, listen, I don't know. I mean, look, have I interviewed Boosie and we've talked about the YoungBoy beef
Okay,
between
maybe that.
them? Could it be that? Maybe. Could it be some other YoungBoy talking about his case shit? I don't fucking know. I don't know. All I know is someone told me the YoungBoy is mad at me about something and he didn't want the dude to do an interview. And it is what it is. And this is just like, sometimes I'll be like, I'll go through, like SZA blocked me on Instagram. Doja Cat blocked me. Like some of the reason, like I don't know why I'm blocked by certain people. It's really kind of weird because I'll click on the link and they'll be like, "This page doesn't exist." I'm like, "Oh shit, this person blocked me." I have no idea why, and I don't really care most of the time.
The reason why I don't like, he used to kind of. By the way, Lil Baby blocked me on Instagram.
Oh really?
He blocked me on my main page and DM'd me on my personal page.
Hold on, Lil Baby.
And then I remember, like, when he DM'd me, what he said? He was like, "Yo."
I'm not blocked by Lil Baby.
Okay, he blocked me. Well, by the way, I use my page when I'm looking for shit. I'm on my page. So if you've ever seen less Lil Baby on my page, can't see the nigga page. So it's
Right.
like he doesn't exist.
And Lil Baby is funny because remember me and Lil Baby had that little viral moment where he was like, I was like, "Oh, you got into a fight with a white dude in jail." He's like, "How you know that?"
Yeah.
Okay, you got into a fight with a white dude.
Exactly.
Was it like a racist thing? Was it like whites and blacks kind of clicked up in there?
How you know that?
Well, that's just how prison is most times.
I'm telling you, how you know I got into it with a white dude though?
I think you may have mentioned it in the past. He played that during his Coachella set.
Yeah.
Like he actually like on the big screen. And I'm like,
Yeah, and by the way, I don't think Lil Baby doesn't like me. I think, sometimes these artists, media is a very interesting job that we have because from time to time, artists will feel a way when you don't say what they would want you to say or when you give light to something they wouldn't want you to.
Right.
You get me? And I think it's stemmed from something on my Twitch. I was like, yo, I think I was hinting to the fact that YoungBoy wouldn't have done a song with, he would want to do a song with one particular rapper, which was Uzi, but he wouldn't do it out of loyalty for Rich the Kid. And I wouldn't really mention who, now I'm saying the whole thing, but I was hinting towards who the artist was that, he, didn't like each other that YoungBoy was standing for. You know what I mean? And I think it's the way I said it. Like, people titled it like, Axe says, YoungBoy and Lil Baby got beef, which they didn't, which I don't know if they do now, but they didn't. And I remember he hit me, he was like, yo, what you talking about? And I was like, brother, I didn't say a name. That's people. That's people titling my video,
Right.
taking it, and they're putting your name on it, right? And he was just like, all right, man, I'm just like, I don't like that shit. And that was it. But I always look at it when it comes to artists, it all comes around. Like, an artist will block you, and the day they don't sell what they need to sell, you're unblocked.
Right, listen, Lil Reese talked a bunch of shit about me on Twitter. And
I ain't
look what
gonna lie.
happened. We did an interview. That'd been a
That's
great
because you
interview.
paid him that $1 million, Vlad. Stop lying.
Yeah, I paid him $1 million for the interview. I had to save up for that money. Once I got that $1 million together, then everyone was happy. But what I'm saying is, like, it seemed like the new generation of artists, they kind of get it. Like the younger dudes, like the Young Blues, the NLE Choppas, and the Lil Reeses and so forth, like, they can get into it with you on social media or whatever, that you could do some shit that they don't like. They'll be cool with you. The older school dudes, like, motherfucking DJ Quick is mad at me over a post about like his daughter and her boyfriend ended up accidentally killing their baby back in 2009.
Yeah.
And we reported on it, and he's still mad at me, 13 years later over that shit. Exhibit is mad at me over some shit that happened before VladTV even existed, where we got into like a disagreement over some shit, and he still refuses to do interviews with me, even though I've offered him appearance fees. Like, he won't even respond. Like, I don't fuck with Vlad. Like, these old school dudes are so like bitter and mad about the shit, and the new dudes are like, okay, well, I'm mad at you about this shit, but if it makes sense, let's just get on with it and keep going forward with it. And
Also,
that's
a
the
lot of
advantage.
these dudes are getting more savvier. Like, they know what's impactful.
Exactly.
Like, again, it's like what rap is kind of is, the younger dudes don't want to not be a part of some shit that's popping.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's like, y'all don't fuck with him now until we talk and we just realize it was just a difference of opinion.
Exactly.
Now he cool. You know what I mean?
Right.
Somebody told me something important, right? Or something interesting. They're like, yo, you do realize that the dudes who don't like you is usually rooted in the fact that you don't post them enough, or you don't post them. There's nobody you overwhelmingly support that says, I don't like this guy. It's usually the guys that saying, like, yo, you riding so-and-so's dick. Or they'll come at a weird angle, but it's like, yo, if you show them the same amount of support like you show a young boy, they'll love you too.
Right.
And I'm like,
right,
it's tough.
It's one of those things, man. It's being in the media, and it's a thankless job. Me and Matt Hoffa, since he's relatively new in this, we've had these type of conversations. He was like, yo, man, what do you do to navigate this type of shit? It's like, you just have to not give a fuck. Honestly, you have to be prepared that certain people are just gonna be mad at you because you mention something or you interview someone that they don't like or whatever else. But at the end of the day, the thing, like Tony Yayo, me and him have gotten cool. We just did our second interview. He told me something really interesting. He said, the day that everyone signed their paperwork with 50 Cent, all the G-Unit shit, 50 looked at him straight in the face and said, all y'all realize you're public property now. So don't get mad when someone posts some negative shit that you don't like. Tony was mad over some shit that happened, like a video I posted of him some years back, and he got over it. And we talked about it. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, I was tripping being mad at you. And I'm like, yo, this is 50 posted some shit about me that I didn't like. I didn't get mad at them. 50 Cent posted some false shit about me. He took it down. I accidentally posted some false shit about him. I took it down. Everyone pretty much, if you're really about your business, you will get over it and you will keep moving forward because you realize it's not personal. No one's trying to snipe each other.
In reality, and this is what I've just realized, the only relationships worth having as being in media is with the people who you could have disagreements and they get over it.
Boom.
Because there's certain artists that I feel like I've been like, you're walking on eggshells hoping to not piss them off, and then you realize you're compromising doing your job.
Exactly.
Every artist who I've been cool with, YoungBoy hasn't liked certain stuff I've done. And I've always done, this is a test for me. Once that happens, because it's gonna eventually happen. It happened with 6ix9ine, it's happened with Kodak, it's happened with anybody who I know that I think we could have a decent relationship where we could call each other and whatever the case is. If they are at the point where they're like, listen, I can't respect the fact that you're doing your job, they don't respect you. Because the media is like that. A lot of people think you work for them or you're their PR, or they just don't respect you in general. Because I keep telling people, rappers think they invented this genre. Yeah. They don't care about producers, managers, labels, anybody else that's in the business except themselves. Yeah. And if a rapper don't respect you, terminate that relationship because you can't do your job.
No, I feel you. I mean, Young Blue called me after I posted all that shit in response to him.
Yeah.
Then next thing you know, I'm getting a phone call from him.
Yeah.
And it was, yo, let's talk it out. And I'm like, cool, let's talk it out.
Now, you know what that means? Now you could build a relationship with them because now there's some respect there that, hey, you're doing your job, but you should also have that respect to know, well, I also want to make sure that I'm being fair to you.
Yeah.
Right? And also I'm putting up the right stuff. So that's good. You know what I mean? But I remember me and X, XXXTentacion, you know.
Rest in peace.
You know, he was mad at the media, man. He was very mad at the media, and he felt like there wasn't fair coverage. He used to hate complex. He used to be like, one day he was about to like, he asked for permission from his PO officer that he could come to New York. He was going to get on a private jet. And he said, yo, get whatever approval you need to get for me to do everyday struggle. And I just want to sit there and ream out complex. He says, they use me for clicks anyway. I'm going to come there, but I'm sick and tired of how media use me for clicks, but it's never fair. And I said, what do you mean? He says, well, fair is this to me. If every time you post a negative story, you won't keep it at least honest or acknowledge that I'm also an artist. Or, you know, what they used to do is they'll post his music, but at the bottom of the article, they'll be like, well, X is also accused of blah, 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 blah. And he felt that was just completely, you know, always trying to put the accusations on him rather than saying, hey, this is his music submission and this is what's going on in his criminal case. And he felt very, like, upset at it. And I remember sometimes even with me and him, we went through periods of not talking when he felt like, you know, I would cover something that everyone was going to cover, but he was like, yo, you know me. And I'm like, because I know you, I look like a hypocrite not putting it up. And I said, obviously, I would never use anything that was private. Obviously, I would never use anything that was, you know, privileged information. But if there is a news report, a press release about you, even if it doesn't show you in the best light, the first person they're going to look to me and say, why he ain't posted. Clearly, everything he's posting is basically, I'm a PR outlet. Same thing with Durk. When Durk's manager got killed, I remember they were mad at me. They said, yo, we just feel like you just be doing some whack shit sometimes. Like, yo, how you gonna post Durk getting arrested, but you ain't post when we did the backpack drive? And I remember explaining to them, I said, you need a PR team. I've never heard that you guys did a backpack drive. TMZ, the AP, Reuters, everybody's reporting that he got arrested for a gun charge. That's going to be picked up by every blog who's really covering or interested in this artist. If you want to put, like, we cover Durk a lot. If you want that to be seen, how about get a PR team and just send it to us? Or just send it to us yourself.
Yeah.
But a lot of you people, it's not my job to go seek out, like, you know, I'm not looking for negative or positive. I'm just looking for anything. And I think certain artists figured that out. Because me and Kodak got in the same thing. Well, me and Kodak's, his lawyer was running his page. His lawyer that he calls daddy, that he bought a truck for, yeah. which is going to definitely handle this case for him. But his lawyer was just like, yo, why don't you post? That's what we were trying to get him out of jail on the pardon. Mm-hmm. So, you know, when you're doing that, you have to flood the media a bit with like, yo, this guy's a good guy. He's donating here. He's donating there. He's good for society. And I remember I had posted something about maybe what happened in jail. And he came and DM'd me from Kodak's page and he was like, yo, I just feel like, yo, you're just not for the culture. And I'm like, yo, this is a white guy who's a lawyer. You're not even in music. So I told him, I said, listen, buddy, let me explain how this
culture.
Yeah, he's like, I don't think you're for the culture if you're posting this and you're not posting his other good deeds. And I'm like, yo, let me explain to you how this works. I said, you clearly know your way around the courtroom, but this is the rap music media industry. there should be a PR team. Like these guys are making millions of dollars. They should have a PR team, a head publicist. They should have assistants, managers, road managers. They should have business managers. All these things should be established and already in place, that certain things don't slip through the cracks, especially when you're at an impasse now where you're trying to get a pardon. You know, I don't know if you necessarily agreed or not, but I brought that story publicly.
I agree. We're not your PR team.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, when a lot of people get mad at the type of interviews that we do, and it's like, we're not your PR team. We're not here to sit down, talk about your new album, and send you on your way. Go to the radio station for that shit. That's not the type of interview that I do. And that's why I hate a lot of times when I have these interviews with like the manager or the PR person sitting right there. No, don't talk about that. No, you know, I mean, like Rich the Kid, who I thought was a fairly big artist, we had like the worst interview ever of like 2020 because the PR person, you remember? Yeah, he walked out on your shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, don't talk about that. No, can't mention that. And I'm like, so we got this
a
boring
PR
ass
person with
interview.
him?
Yeah.
Oh, hell.
Yeah, no, it was the worst, man. It was the
Hey,
worst. And I felt like
yo.
it was a waste of everyone's time.
Yo, you know what's so funny? So yesterday I interviewed ATL Jacob.
Okay.
And they send him with like, you know, he has this PR firm, like 3 people. They're begging to be in the room. I hate people being in the room, but they're begging. So, all right, cool, you can be over there, you can watch, whatever. They also send a bunch of things to Spotify, which Spotify gave to me. It was like, hey, this is what he wants to talk about. This is what they do not want to talk about, right? And it was just like, yo, hey, don't mention relationships and stuff like that. Bro, he wanted to talk about that. You know what I mean? So like after interviews, we're talking about exactly what he didn't want to talk about, but really they feel it's problematic if he talks about it.
Yeah.
But really, that's where the good content was. You know what I mean? Now after the thing, you know, I think they've tried to say like cut stuff out. Not doing that. You know what I mean? He didn't say anything that was either foul, legal. If it's legal, we're super sensitive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, I don't want nobody incorrectly or even correctly be like, oh yeah, they use your stuff and we told you to take it out type of stuff. Yeah. But if you mention a legal case, that's on you though. You know what I mean? You should consult with your lawyer. I'm not here really. I love people when you do too, right? When they say no comment, when they can't talk about some shit.
That's what it is. Academics, always
What's
a
up,
pleasure
man?
when we sit down together, man.
I know.
Congrats on all the success that you've been
What's up?
having, man. Whenever
Congrats
I
to
see
you.
these big interviews on our platform, man, I'm always happy for you. You and I have always had a dope relationship.
Yeah.
Thank you again for the NLE Choppa, you know, stepping in and making
of
that
course.
happen, man. And, you know, until next time.
Yeah, hey, listen, I'm glad this this one went the way it went this time, because I remember when I first came up here, I'm like, yo, I know Vlad was ready for me to shoot from the hip, but we did a lot more bio stuff.
Well, that's always the first interview.
Yeah,
You know, for me, like always, like the hardest part is preparing for that second interview, because the first interview is like a life story interview.
Yeah.
It's kind of easy. It's laid out. The second one is like, okay, how can we make this poignant enough, but not talk about all that shit we talked about last time?
Yeah.
And that's always like why I'm stressing out in the mornings, trying to figure out what I'm going to do, man. But, you know, you and I have always had kind of a cool,
It's easy.
yeah, the way we talk, because we talk offline more than this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we've always had this cool relationship.
Of
When I sit
course.
down with you, you know, on your podcast, always like a 3-hour conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Always a pleasure, man. Until next time.
No, of course, man. Till number 3.
Peace.